The 2 hours are barely up when my worn-out body floods with strength out of nowhere. Most of the fatigue drains straight from my limbs, and my spiritual power climbs sharply along with it. This is no false rally, none of that hollow last flare a dying man feels before the end. It is real, solid, measurable gain. The moment I feel it, my face splits into a grin, because I know exactly what it means. Swift Shadow and Bright Mirror have broken through together, both crossing into diamond rank at once, and the boost my lord's heart feeds me is impossible to miss. I feel it even now, drained to the bone. Once I fully recover, the strengthening should climb higher still. I stretch out the stiffness and take off for the biological laboratory at a run. The instant I step into the cultivation room, I find Wang Heon waiting with Swift Shadow and Bright Mirror, and both of them have shifted again. Swift Shadow has grown larger, long as a grown man's forearm when she rears up. Her body still that oily dark green. The matte, helmet-shaped carapace on her head has more texture than before, drinking in the lamplight without throwing back a single glint. Bright Mirror has barely changed in size, but her form has gone more transparent than ever, a faint silver glow drifting inside the clear body. She is mysterious enough that I catch myself staring. Wang Heon turns, pushes up his glasses, and tells me I have come at just the right moment, that the two of them have only now finished their breakthroughs. I nod my thanks and say he has worked hard, then send him off to his own affairs. I will take these two little ones from here, I tell him. He answers simply that he understands, pushes the door open, and leaves, and I follow him out with Swift Shadow and Bright Mirror in tow. When a queen ant advances, every fresh ability she gains is reproductive in nature. Before I can examine the new combat skills, I need Swift Shadow and Bright Mirror to raise a diamond rank sentry ant and a diamond rank clear ant first. So I settle each of them into her own nest. I tell them to drink in energy as fast as they can and hatch a diamond rank tribesman so I can see what new abilities have surfaced. Both queens agree at once and throw themselves into it. Swift Shadow only needs wood attribute materials, which I have already stockpiled in bulk. Bright Mirror returns to the 3rd floor of the Hall of Knowledge that I built to her measure. There she starts drinking in the spiritual power the subjects give off across the 2 floors below. Now that she has reached diamond rank, her absorption runs on another level entirely. The trouble is the subjects downstairs feel the change the very instant she begins. One of them groans that the math problem in front of him has turned so brutal his brain feels like it is swelling. All around him, others slump dizzy and disoriented onto their desks, drained dry, and before long a whole crowd has collapsed from the strain. I am close enough to catch that something has gone wrong right away. Bright Mirror's leap to diamond rank has clearly spiked her absorption rate. That means we have to speed up the subject rotation in the Hall of Knowledge before anyone burns out. I am about to head down and sort it out myself when several uniformed administrators step in ahead of me, directing and adjusting the flow. In almost no time, the dizzy subjects are carried out and a fresh batch is filed in. The new arrivals notice nothing off. If anything, they are delighted their turn came round so quickly, one wondering aloud why the rotation is so fast today, while another just shrugs that faster is plainly better. I let out a breath and stop worrying. The administrators Tak Mung Yol trained are dependable, and with them running the floor I have nothing left to fret over. A good administrator is worth 10 good fighters. Lucky me, I have both. I leave them to it and go about my own affairs. 2 hours later, I arrive at Swift Shadow's nest, having just gotten word that she raised a diamond rank sentry ant. The moment I step inside, my eyes are pulled to the new sentry ant standing beside her. It shares Swift Shadow's coloring, its body a touch smaller than hers, and the tips of its 2 forelimbs are honed to a wicked edge. They curve like a pair of bent daggers getting off a faint chill, and the whole creature carries the aura of a seasoned soldier. I nod, satisfied, and pull up the reading to check what it gained on the climb to diamond rank. The panel tells me this sentry ant has unlocked something called biological network, a net woven between sentry ants that lets them view information across the covered range. I frown a little, because the description is abstract and clipped. Even after I read the detailed notes twice, I still cannot quite picture how it works. Sensing my confusion, Swift Shadow explains at once. Her tribesmen used to detect information only within a set radius around each of them, she says. But with biological network, the blind spots that once fell between 2 tribesmen are now covered by the net. They can read that space directly. I mull it over for a while and then nod, saying I roughly follow it. In plain terms, I put to her, this ability means her sentry ants have a far sharper reconnaissance reach now. She confirms it, then adds that the risk of scouting has dropped just as sharply. Before, no matter how covertly a sentry ant crept, it had to close in on the target to read anything, which meant either being spotted or being caught in an enemy's area attack. Now the ants no longer need to approach at all. 2 of them can simply bracket a target from a distance and pull its information straight out of the air. I still have one question though, and I ask Swift Shadow about the range. I say it cannot be infinite, because that would be flat out unreasonable. She agrees it is not infinite, then tells me it is more than enough for real use. The trigger distance runs 10 times a tribesman's original scouting reach, and the more of them that weave a net over one area, the wider the coverage stretches. In short, she says, this ability lifts their reconnaissance range by at least tenfold. Where conditions allow, the ceiling climbs past 20 times over. That abnormal? I am honestly a little stunned. A platinum rank sentry ant already had a biological radar that could sweep everything inside a 1 kilometer radius. 10 times that reach puts it well ahead of a lot of high-end scouting hardware. I am thoroughly pleased with what Diamond Rank has bought me here, and I nod with a smile telling her that biological technology is technology all the same. I order Swift Shadow to keep raising more Diamond Rank tribesmen, because from here on, every scrap of battlefield intelligence rides on her. She answers eagerly that she will. Then I reach out along the link to Bright Mirror and hurry off toward the Hall of Knowledge. Swift Shadow took 2 hours to raise her Diamond Rank Sentry Ant, and if that little accident had not slowed Bright Mirror, she would have needed roughly the same. For Diamond Rank Ants, that speed is already excellent. I turn all this over as I travel, and soon I reach the 3rd floor and step up to Bright Mirror and the new Diamond Rank Clear Ant she has cultivated. The Clear Ant lives up to its name. Its body is translucent as hers, giving off the same faint, mysterious silver glow. I tell Bright Mirror she has done well and press a finger to her little head, cool and soft as jelly, then pull up the Clear Ant's reading. The panel lists it as spiritual in type, and then throws so many abilities at me at once that my head spins for a second. There is telekinesis, which I have seen before, and after it comes spiritual disruption, telekinetic protection, telekinetic shockwave, telekinetic rampage, and finally spiritual network. Too many to take in cleanly. I calm myself and decide to work through them one at a time, skipping past telekinesis and reading on. Spiritual disruption, the panel says, condenses spiritual power to interfere with an enemy, throwing off their ability release. If the spiritual power gap runs wide enough, it can stun the target outright. This one is good. As an interference tool, it leaves a mark no matter what. Even against someone like the God King, whose own spiritual power runs high, it would still force him to peel off some focus to deal with it. Telekinetic protection comes next, a barrier woven from telekinesis that blocks physical, elemental, and spiritual attacks alike. A shield that guards against everything sounds fine, though sometimes the more a skill tries to cover, the thinner it spreads. I make a note to test it later against a specialized skill. Telekinetic shockwave is third, a burst of compressed telekinesis carrying both physical and spiritual impact, its intensity freely dialed up or down. That is a solid offensive skill, and I nod, pleased. All three are useful, but abilities unlocked later tend to be the real prizes. What I truly want to see are the last two, the ones that open at Platinum rank and at Diamond rank. I steady my breathing and read on. Telekinetic rampage. For 10 seconds after release, the Clear Ant's telekinesis enters a raging state that multiplies its force tenfold. Afterward, the ant falls into a weakened stretch that takes 7 days to shake off, or less if I pour spiritual resources into its recovery. A burst ability with tenfold amplification. My excitement finally slips its leash. After wading through so many skills, I have finally hit one strong enough to decide a battle outright. With telekinetic rampage in hand, even a Clear Ant fresh into Diamond rank could go toe-to-toe with a seasoned monster like the God King. 10 seconds is short, and the weakened aftermath is real, but 10 seconds is plenty to settle a Diamond rank exchange. I clench my fists. The Clear Ant is hardly my only card either. Black Scythe hunting ants, self-destruct ants, plasma ants, not one of them lacks for teeth. As long as a Clear Ant can trade a few blows with the God King without folding instantly, the rest can be handed off to my other ants. There is no need for one Clear Ant to overpower him alone, which is neither realistic nor necessary. It has never been my way to sit on a dozen troop types and then shove one of them against the enemy's strong suit. If the Platinum rank ability hits this hard, the one that opens at Diamond rank has to be something else. So I turn to the last entry, Spiritual Network, and let out a quiet laugh at the coincidence. It echoes the biological network Swift Shadow just picked up, both of them networks. The Clear Ant, the panel explains, can release spiritual fluctuations to weave a spiritual network through the nearby space. Creatures around it can project their consciousness inside to interact with one another. Loading into the network costs each creature a measure of spiritual power, which the net stores away, and the Clear Ant can spend that stored power to lift its own growth potential. How much it gains depends on each creature's spiritual activity. The description tangles a bit, and I read it twice before it settles. Then I look at Bright Mirror, half in disbelief, and ask whether this spiritual network means she can raise a space like a virtual network, like going online. The spiritual power her netizens spend would stand in for the fees they pay to log on, I add. She tells me my read is precise and vivid, and that the spiritual network takes any intelligent creature at all, with no limit on the type. Hearing that, a jolt of excitement runs through me. Is this not exactly the interaction channel I have wanted all along? My subjects lost their manuals the moment they became vassals, and reaching them afterward turned into real work. I had to send Wang Heon down a long road of development through the century ants just to rig up a crude channel. Now, with a spiritual network, everything gets far simpler. Better still, every hour people spend logged in slowly raises the clear ant's growth potential. That quietly solves the clear ant's single worst flaw, its chronic hunger for spiritual power resources. Spiritual network is only a functional skill on paper, yet its effect is enormous, no less valuable than the raw punch of telekinetic rampage. I ride the excitement a while, then ask Bright Mirror about the thing I am still hazy on. What exactly decides how much the spiritual power the network gathers can lift her potential? The reading mentioned spiritual activity. I say, so what is that? She explains that spiritual activity ties to the depth of thought and the frequency of interaction among the creatures inside the net. I frame it back to her, asking whether the more the creatures think and talk, the higher the activity runs. She says yes, that is a good way to put it. The higher the activity climbs, the faster she improves her potential on the road toward legendary rank. My eyes light up at that, because if she is right, then humans are the single most suitable creatures for a spiritual network. Other intelligent creatures might feel little pull toward the thing. Humans are another story entirely. 21st century blue star humans, at least half of them thoroughly hooked on the internet, were dragged into the dark world and stripped of it. For a while, the manual's chat function was their only comfort, and as vassals they lost even that. So by now they teeter on the edge of a full withdrawal meltdown. Hand them a spiritual network to chat through, and the whole territory will erupt into a chatting frenzy, with spiritual activity guaranteed to run high enough. Keeping so many vassals around really does turn up a surprise now and then. I ask Bright Mirror whether the spiritual network is only good for chatting, or whether it has other uses. She tilts her little head, thinks a moment, and says the specific functions are something she would have to build alongside her tribesmen. She is not sure what to build though, so she might need my help. It seems the Clear Ants network reaches even further than I imagined. It is not just a chat room, but something closer to a metaverse, a whole virtual world waiting to be shaped. And as for content, there is no cause to worry. For humans who marinated in the internet for decades, filling that space is child's play. I smile and tell Bright Mirror not to fret. I will arrange people to help her, and for now she should pour herself into raising ants. I say a great war may be on us before long, and she will be my trump card. Feeling the weight I put on the word, she shakes her small head hard, nodding again and again, vowing to work herself to the bone and become her master's sharp blade and strong shield. I tell her I believe her. I leave the Hall of Knowledge and reach out to Tak Nung-yol, telling him to come up to my office because there is something I need to talk over. He answers at once that he is on his way. My shelter, the underground city, the top floor of Building 1. I have already filled Tak Mungyil in on Bright Mirror's spiritual network. He asks whether I mean I need a group of people fluent in networks and metaverse design. And I say exactly, then ask if that poses any difficulty. He tells me it is no difficulty at all. My territory holds nearly 90,000 vassals, and with that many people I can turn up specialists from any trade under the sun. He will head to the mission hall shortly and post a bounty, he says, since a heavy reward always draws brave men, and once they surface he will vet and screen them. He could pick out some of what I need today, he adds, but to sift for real talent it would be better to give him more time. 3 days would be ideal. Building the spiritual network takes a solid number of clear ants. Right now the most pressing thing is raising enough of them for the coming clash with the God King and the Alliance of Gods. On top of that, the network's slow lift to Bright Mirror's potential is a long-term project. There is no telling how long it will take to push her potential to the point where she can step into legendary rank. A few days one way or the other on construction changes nothing. So I think it over, then smile and tell Tak Mungyel there is no rush at all. I give him a full week to hunt for talent as thoroughly as he likes. I suggest he have his recruits draw up a complete plan first before they build, since that will make the whole thing run faster. He accepts gladly, promising 7 days is more than enough, and hurries out to post the mission. The mission hall is one of the busiest corners of my whole territory, forever churning out high-reward jobs. A great many of my people have left the underground city to pioneer farther, wilder places, and out there they cannot pull up new listings on their own. Yet the demand for fresh mission news never dies, and where there is demand, there is business. Certain people in the mission hall make their living gathering listings, ferrying them to clients, and charging a small information fee. For most pioneers, that is a fine bargain against the cost of stationing their own man in the hall. Thanks to that little industry, no sooner does Tak Mungyil post the job than at least half my territory has the news in hand and is chewing it over with real energy. The chatter runs from bafflement to open awe, one person marveling that the Lord must already command computer and virtual reality technology. Another, a laid-off metaverse programmer who thought his skills were dead weight in this world, half weeps at the chance to use them again. Slowly the sentiment settles into one shared thought. In this territory, anyone, whatever they are good at and whether the wider world once called it useful or useless, can find a place for it here. Someone sighs that maybe this place will become the city of dreams for every one of them, and the name catches, spreading through the subjects until it becomes the common name for the territory. Eventually it reaches even me. I turn the name over, a small smile tugging at my mouth. The City of Dreams is a fine name indeed, though since my whole aim was only to strengthen myself, it is more than a touch grand. One day later, I sit at my desk, fingers tapping lightly on the wood. Less than 3 days remain until I meet the chief of that giant black island, and I still do not know his abilities. Even if he turns out to be a spiritual power expert on the God King's level, in 3 days I will have close to 50 diamond rank clear ants ready to greet him. If he leans on physical combat, I have 500 diamond rank black scythe hunting ants. If he fights with elements, I have another 120 diamond rank plasma ants to answer him. Whatever he is, he will not stir up much trouble. I tally my strength and feel a good deal easier about the fight for sole chief of the area. Then my thoughts drift back to my queens. 8 ant queens now. 8 ant types: Mowal, Swift Shadow, Rock Spirit, Mars, Leisure Cloud, Light Healing, Thunder, and Bright Mirror. Somewhere along the way, my household has grown this large. Each queen owns her own field. Mole reigns over physical offense and defense. Swift Shadow over scouting and assassination. Rock Spirit over the earth element and construction. The vast majority of them have already broken into diamond rank, and only Rock Spirit and Leisure Cloud still lag behind. I need to lift those 2 up as well, because my next target is legendary rank, and legendary looks like a steep climb. I frown a little as I think about the growth fluid I feed the queens. Diamond rank fluid never doses out perfectly, so there is always a little left over, and that surplus adds almost nothing to a queen who has already reached diamond. Pushing ants into legendary rank on diamond resources alone simply will not do. I would need legendary rank resources, the kind wrung out of legendary creatures, or dug out of the most dangerous places. For me right now, the difficulty runs too high. I will take it slow and wait until I have banked more troops, and I set the whole distant worry aside before it can gnaw at me for nothing. All 8 queens are pouring every ounce of energy into absorbing power and raising ants, so there is little left for me but to sink into my own cultivation. For the ants to reach legendary rank, I have to break through to tier 3 first. Otherwise, even if their potential touches legendary, my own realm as their master would cap them and hold them below the line. Fortunately, I have found a road toward deeper understanding of power. Slow going, but forward all the same. The method is to wring my spiritual power dry, and then, in that hollowed out state, keep straining to grasp my own path of power. So I sit and endure the noise of death-heavy metal, and through a skull-splitting headache I force my mind toward the breakthrough to tier 3. The next step perhaps means becoming an ant. Thinking the way an ant thinks, until I reach a synchronized state. Nothing major happens over the next 2 days. The ants build diligently, I cultivate diligently, and the subjects on the Black Island stay busy with their own work. Beyond the island, though, the currents are surging. The Tier 3 suction of the vortex is still tearing at the Black Island, and within a few days it will climb to Tier 4. The 33-unit Black Island keeps drawing nearer, only a day's sailing away now. As for the other one, the 23-unit island, its chief keeps steering away from the vortex as always, but the Tier 3 pull is savage for a mass that size, and 3 days of effort have barely opened up any distance at all. I frown at that far-off island, unable to read the man. Strange, I mutter. What is this person even thinking? If he means for me and this Frost Chief to bleed each other first so he can play the fisherman, should he not be edging closer? Sitting that far out, when the suction ratchets up again, a big enough jump could drag him straight into the vortex. Even if I wanted to pull him out, I would never catch up. No, I decide. I have to end my own fight as fast as I can, and leave myself some slack, then cross over and take him before the next surge hits. My Black Island stands at 47 units, and swallowing the 33-unit island only brings me to 80. 80 is nothing small, and my sailing speed is quick enough that even the heavier Tier 4 suction looks manageable. It is the final wave, the Tier 5 suction, that worries me. Unless the island reaches 100 units, it cannot go immune to that pull. Suppose Tier 5 hits hard, with no other Black Island left in the last 7 days for me to devour and buy a sliver of resistance. Then my only remaining option would be to storm the instance beside the vortex. That one has already evolved into some green or cyan color no one can name. By my read, it is monstrously strong, likely crawling with diamond-rank creatures, and I command a real army but cannot swear I could take it cleanly. So the safest path is to seize the 23-unit island and devour it too, which would carry me past 100 units to 103. By the rules, no suction however fierce could touch me then. Crisis past. Decision made, I glance quietly at my 2 glowing abilities. Super Leap and God Descent are both ready. God Descent comes with a leash, needing a full day of continuous locking before it fires. Super Leap I hold in reserve to run down the 23-unit island once I have swallowed the 33-unit one. Right as I settle it, my manual chimes. Chiong's message tells me she is nearly recovered, and that since her breakthrough she has cultivated some new plants that might do me good. She asks whether I would like to come take a look. I think it over. My spiritual power is running a little thin, and it is still almost a full day until I meet that black island. Even riding God Descent, the crossing eats most of a day anyway. I will go look, see what recovery items she has on hand, and gauge how strong that spirit of hers has grown. I rub my throbbing forehead, sore from grinding on my spiritual power, and reply with a smile that I will be right there. Xiongha's territory. A tree so immense its crown vanishes somewhere above the clouds, its true height impossible to judge. Lush, exquisite little wooden houses rest along its branches, and now and then delicate figures no more than 50 to 60 centimeters tall drift in and out. They wear clothes woven from leaves, transparent green wings like a cicada's spread at their backs. I stand beneath the tree and look up, honestly curious, and ask whether these are tree spirits. Chungha smiles and nods beside me, telling me they are the tree spirits her Little Tree cultivated, a new ability that opened after Little Tree crossed into Diamond Rank. Chungha herself has changed a great deal too. Since her own Diamond Rank breakthrough, she gives off a natural aura much like the tree spirits, and standing there among the green she seems to melt into it. If my spiritual power were not already locked onto her position, I might have looked right past her. My gaze stays up on those creatures out of legend, and I say with some uncertainty that their aura strikes me as faintly odd, as if they are deliberately hiding something. I ask whether these tree spirits have a way to mask their strength. Chiongha looks at me surprised. She knows I carry the Eye of Delusion breaking, which can see through anything, but she clearly did not expect me to sense this much without even activating it. She says my spiritual power must have come a long way. Then she tells me the tree spirits can fold themselves into nature and dampen their aura. What they show now reads as silver rank, while in truth, every one of them is a diamond rank existence. Diamond rank? I look the unassuming little things over again, taken aback, and ask whether they are diamond from the moment they are born. I tell her that this ability of hers is a bit unfair, far stronger than my aunt's. She has at least 100 tree spirits here, with more spilling steadily from the world tree's fruit. I do not yet know their real fighting power, but diamond rank means they are nothing to sneeze at. That is a serious force. Chiongha gently shakes her head and asks how they can ever compare to my aunt's. She says tree spirits are born at diamond rank, but they have no path higher and are stuck there for life. For stronger spirits, she has to wait for Little Tree's abilities to advance further. My aunts, on the other hand, carry no growth ceiling at all. They have already reached diamond rank, and no one can say what stage they will hit in the end, which next to her spirits makes them freakishly strong, more like something out of a fable. I smile and shake my head, telling her that dragging the ants up to this realm cost me a mountain of resources and effort. Then I ask how things stand in her area, and whether she needs my help going forward. She says that will not be necessary. After the last battle, she is already the largest Black Island chief in her area. 3 Black Islands are left, the biggest only 22 units, and even that one sits half crippled by the Tier 3 suction. A truly formidable chief would never let himself sink to that state. She tells me there is still time, and she will break them apart one at a time. With her tree spirits and her activated plants, she has offense to spare. And even if something goes sideways, Little Tree can hold the defense long enough for her to call me. She asks whether my side needs help instead, offering to send the tree spirits over at another time if I do. I shake my head, smiling, and say my side is fine too, that I can handle my enemies myself. I would dearly love to watch the tree spirits fight, I admit, but now is not the moment, and for now everyone should tend their own front first. It has been a while, I tell her, and seeing her in good spirits has eased my mind more than a little. I still have battles waiting, so I need to get back and prepare. Before her next seclusion, I add, she should give me advance notice and leave a teleportation channel open, so that if something truly goes wrong, we can move in to support her in time. Chiongha blinks, caught off guard for a beat, then smiles and says she understands, and that she will not shut herself away so blindly next time. She stops me before I can go, reminding me I forgot the recovery potions she promised, the ones brewed from the plants she just cultivated. She looks up at an exquisite tree house on a high branch, noticeably larger than the others clustered nearby, and calls for Little Tree to bring the items down. Little Tree, Little Tree. That naming style of hers. I grumble at her naming sense somewhere inside and shoot her a strange look. At her call, a slender tree spirit nearly a meter tall glides out, crowned in a wreath of branches and fresh flowers. One hand holds a small bamboo tube, while the other covers a yawn, his eyes heavy with sleep. Chungha introduces him as Little Tree, the the tree spirit king, and takes the bamboo tube from his hand. This is tree spirit nectar, Xiangha explains, gathered by the tree spirits from the essence of plants, and it heals both body and mind fast enough to make it a first-rate recovery item. This particular tube Little Tree collected himself. Its potency finer than what the ordinary tree spirits draw, and small as it looks, Little Tree spent a long time filling it. Tree spirit nectar, rapid recovery from injury. If Chongha vouches for it, the effect must be worth having. I thank her, admitting my cultivation has been punishing lately, and a recovery item is exactly what I need, so I will not stand on ceremony. I take the tube under Little Tree's deeply reluctant stare, and turn to Chongha with a smile. I say time is tight for everyone right now, with the whole area making its final sprint for the Vortex event, so I will not linger. We can gather again once the fighting is done. She answers with a soft hum of agreement. I step into the teleportation array and my figure vanishes on the spot. Behind me, Little Tree lets out a sharp, displeased cry, and Xiangha soothes him, saying it was only a single tube of nectar, and there is no need to be so petty. She offers to let Little Tree pick any fruit he wants from the Sky Garden. At the mention of the Sky Garden, the Tree Spirit King's disappointment dissolves into brimming joyful tears, and he forgets the lost nectar entirely. Back in my own territory, I move at once. I tell Swift Shadow to go set things up, to throw defensive fortifications along the border in the direction the enemy will come, just in case. Every combat force that is ready should gather outside the underground city, I add, so I can pull them into the spirit nurturing jar first. She answers sharply that she will. I check the map on my pocket watch and count off the time. Only about a day of sailing remains, and one more use of God Descent would shave another 3 hours off it. But the ability only fires when the leg left to travel falls inside a 3-hour window. I also have to guard against the target having already cooled his own super leap and jumping early. Every preparation I can make is made, and there is little left to do now but wait with some patience. Across the area, the 33-unit Black Island races toward me under supersonic sailing, and its chief is throwing himself into fierce preparations of his own. Any chief who has clawed his way this far, however arrogant, is not blind. Creatures sheathed in frost trudge slowly toward the island's border, a mix of races, beasts, and humans both. Their skin the frozen blue-black of a corpse. Their pupils are white and empty of life, and their bodies move like stiff machinery, forward without pause and without fatigue. From a high vantage, the Frost Army stretches out for dozens of miles. The chief himself rides a tall, single-horned horse crusted in frost, a frost-edged blade held out ahead of him, intoning that the cold wind passes and freezes the earth. Then there is the third chief still standing in the area, the one both I and this frost chief have written off. Everyone takes him for a coward dodging battle, or a scavenger waiting on scraps. He sits cross-legged high above his territory, eyes clamped shut in pain, his black robe stirring though there is no wind. Beneath him spreads a giant black magic array with a radius of 1,000 meters, packed to the brim with countless people, all seated cross-legged in the same posture, all with their eyes shut tight. Threads of black chi rise from their heads like wisps of smoke and stream toward the black-robed chief above. Each wisp is thin on its own, but tens of thousands of people mean tens of thousands of wisps, braiding into what looks like a mass of overwhelming black tentacles. Every tentacle bores into the chief and is devoured whole, without a drop overflowing. Every so often someone below crumples, face bloodless, and is simply flung out of the array and left aside to groan. He breathes that he needs only one more day of absorption. 12 hours later, I have banked enough strength and locked in every battle preparation well ahead of time. It is not only the ants. Some subjects who train toward combat join in, along with organized ranks in elemental armor, and among them rides one special team. It is small, under 100 people, yet outside of the ant army it is the strongest fighting force in my entire territory. Every member has crossed into the second tier, into platinum rank, and a few of the standouts are edging close to the third tier. Most of them came from the chiefs of the Black Islands I conquered, along with powerful vassals off those islands and my own. The elite of dozens of Black Islands standing in one team makes strength like this ordinary. These once high and mighty chiefs, dropped from lording over 10,000 men to soldiering in a squad, would be lying to claim they hold no grudges. But when they look at the combat unit ahead, more than 1,000 diamond rank ants strong, the grudges scatter like smoke. One admits under his breath that they truly did not lose unfairly. He once traded blows with one of the Lord's black iron-hard ants, he says, and could not even scratch its shell in 2 moves. He resigns himself that a small soldier is a small soldier, and there will always be work for their hands. To meet the coming fight, the most important fight in the area, I do not steal away for more cultivation. Instead, I simply wait, quiet, for the 2 Black Islands to touch. And as I check the pocket watch map every 10 minutes the way I always do, I catch an anomaly. The island marked at 33 units has jumped noticeably on the map, forward by at least 2 or 3 hours of sailing. His super leap was on cooldown after all. Now the gap between us is nearly closed to the range God Descent needs. That the target held a super leap goes without saying, and it sat inside my calculations long ago, so the jump does not surprise me. I measure the distance on the map and run a rough sum. Roughly 3.5 hours of sailing remain, and since God Descent can skip the last 3 hours, in just half an hour I can drop straight in front of the target. I cannot help a flicker of excitement. After the vortex event ends, I wonder, what waits for me next? Will I stay penned inside one area like a beast in a cage? Or will it open into a world wide as the sea for a fish to leap and high as the sky for a bird to soar? A dark world I can roam corner to corner, free to make contact with anyone at all. If it truly opens up, then it means I will run into the God King before long. The organization 09 and Will spoke of will finally break the surface too. Plenty of enemies, no question. I clench my fists, fighting spirit rising in my eyes, and pull in a slow breath as I watch the island creep closer on the map. 30 minutes later, I pull on the Destruction Dragon Ant Vest, summon the God's Token, and fire God Descent. In an instant, my black island blinks out of its place, and when it reappears, it sits right up against the 33-unit island. The two masses lock together like magnets of opposite poles, gripping fast the moment they touch. I give the command for every force to charge. My ant army, braced and waiting, surges toward the island ahead with every other unit at its back. The enemy chief is plainly ready as well, no panic on him at all. With a cold snort, he swings his ice-sealed longsword hard, and in that heartbeat the Frost Army's crawling pace explodes tens, even hundreds of times faster. It comes charging in like a madness let loose. The Frost Chief drives his troops forward, and then hangs back himself, mounted on a frost unicorn atop a mountain at the island's edge, watching in silence. Seeing his subordinates so ferocious and bloodthirsty, so hungry to devour their foes, he lets a satisfied smile show. He orders them to charge for their king, to tear the enemy apart and turn them into more of the same. By his experience, one look at his terrifying Frost Army lops 30% off an enemy's combat power on the spot. The stunned fear the ruthless, and the ruthless fear those who do not fear death. No intelligent being is free of the fear of dying, since it is carved into the genetic core as a survival instinct. Who, he reasons, could stand against a swarm of bloodthirsty horrors that do not fear death at all? So the Frost Chief watches calmly, in no hurry to move. Soon the two sides close to almost nothing. Leading my line are black scythe hunting ants, a blend of platinum and diamond rank, while the ranged units behind them fly by their own power, or ride cradled in the bellies of hover ants. Those ranged units are plasma ants, light healing ants, self-destruct ants, and clear ants. In a straight frontal collision like this, one about to snap shut into melee, sentry ants have little to offer. So my 800 diamond rank sentry ants and several thousand platinum rank ones stay off the front entirely. Some slip into stealth and streak around the flank toward the enemy's rear, while another portion rides hover ants to punch into that rear from the air. Aerial units, unbothered by terrain, march far quicker than anything on the ground, so they reach the fight first. 10 hover ants laden with sentry ants have nearly cut into the middle of the frost ranks, on the verge of slipping past the main body. Once those 10 hover ants and their thousands of sentry ants reach the deep rear, the battle is as good as called. As long as the enemy stays pinned at the front, my sentry ants can bore into the main camp, hunt down the area core, and blow it while the rear sits empty. Each of them is a strong solo fighter with sharp reconnaissance and black tech gear like compressed energy guns and grenades. But would it really be that easy? Like the Frost Chief, I do not throw myself into the fight, choosing instead to ride the wizard tower and watch from its observation deck. A chief is the core and the brain of the whole army, and stepping into combat sharply weakens his grip on the larger picture. Unless there is no other choice, he does not risk himself. For me, there is truly no need. With swift shadow directing in my place, the result only comes out cleaner. I watch the hover ants about to break into the rear, and a faint frown creeps in. Something is off. A chief who runs a 33-unit island and has subdued 15 to 20 other chiefs cannot possibly command a single ground type and nothing more. Even weak on anti-air, he must have some answer, so how could he let me punch through this easily? I tell Swift Shadow to be careful, to keep her guard up, and to have the plasma ants at the rear ready to cover. She answers at once. At my word, the 10 hover ants ferrying sentry ants ease off their pace a fraction, and 2 more hover ants carrying plasma ants slide up to flank them like escorts. Plasma ants can levitate on their own magnetism and throw up lightning shields, so in theory they could simply fight in the open. But for pure flight speed and defense, the specialized hover ants come out ahead, and tucking the plasma ants inside hides their loud energy signature. That both lowers the enemy's guard and spares the plasma ants' reserves, keeping their strength banked. With that cover in place, my unease loosens a little. And in that moment, the Frost Chief, watching from his distant peak, catches the shift in my aerial line. He lets slip a cold snort, wondering whether I noticed, deciding it is too late for that to matter, then gives the order to act. Directly beneath the leading hover ants, Out of frost ranks that looked identical a breath ago, hundreds upon thousands of arm-thick ice spikes erupt straight upward. At the same instant, hundreds of frost monsters launch off the ground toward the hover ants above. Their auras brutally strong, the weakest at gold rank and many more at platinum. The one leading them wears a human shape, wings of ice crystal spread wide, its aura risen all the way to diamond rank. Aerial strength like that alone would outmatch 80 or 90% of the area's chiefs. And worse, this looks to be only a sliver of the Frost Chief's true force. His combat power towers over the whole region. The ground ranks of vassals, trailing the black scythe hunting ants, have not yet made contact, and with the ants so large and so densely massed, many cannot even see the enemy clearly. The air, though, is wide open, and these cultivated vassals with their sharpened eyesight watch the aerial clash and go tense. They do not know my deployment. To them, those round, rolling hover ants they ride around the territory like buses and subways are mere platinum stock with little fight in them. Set against this fierce aerial swarm and its endless ice spikes, they brace for a slaughter. Many of them hold a quiet fondness for the placid hover ants and start fretting over what will happen to them. One cries that it is an ambush and a dishonorable one. Another snaps that war has no honor to speak of, and only prays the big ants come through. A third squints and mutters that the winged birdman leading the enemy looks strangely familiar. Then a voice rises out of the pack of former chiefs, saying he knows this man, that it is Yu Song, the Thunderbolt Hand. The words are barely out before someone shoots them down. The man retorts that he has heard of this Thunderbolt Hand Yu Song too. Yu Song was a former chief of an 8-unit Black Island, well known in their corner of the area, but plainly a lightning attribute user. He tells the man to open his eyes, because this one out here is clearly an ice user. The first man goes anxious at once, insisting he cannot be mistaken. He and Yu Song were close. He says they once reached out to forge an alliance and even used an item for a virtual projection call. That is beyond doubt. Thunderbolt Hand Yu Song, though why he flipped from lightning to ice is a mystery. Then something clicks. He frowns, studying Yu Song's drastically altered face and the frost monster troops around him, and abruptly grasps it. Before he can get it out, a collision breaks in the air above. Hundreds of ice spikes hammer into the cloud-soft bellies of the 12 hover ants, a rolling drumbeat of impacts. The spikes rebound off that elastic hide, sheared of momentum, then burst apart in midair into countless tiny shards that come raining down. In seconds, a hazy ice crystal mist swallows the sky, and no one can make out what is happening inside. Then the enemy's hundreds of flyers, Yu Song at their head, plunge into the mist, and another muffled run of impacts rolls out from within. Everyone watches, taut, waiting for the mist to thin. Air superiority matters enormously, and if their own flyers fall, they are the ones who take the beating next. For all their thick shells, the black scythe hunting ants cannot shield them from an enemy in the sky. The impatient ones press the man, demanding he spit out what he figured. He goes on. At first he wanted to ally with Yu Song, he says, but their territories sat too far apart, and under the gravitational pull they could not close the gap in time. So they split into two groups, each making for one of the two largest chiefs nearest them. His own island lay closest to Lord Zhangyan, so he came straight here, while Yu Song sat closer to the second-ranked chief and went that way. He figured it made no difference which lord they served under, just as subordinates work either way. Who could have guessed the terms under Lord Zhangyan would run so far above the rest, while Yu Song, he pauses there, his eyes flooding with fear and lingering dread. The chief Yu Song threw in with, he says, turned out to be a monster who eats men whole and spits out no bones. His ability is a demonic thing that holds human life as nothing. As far as he knows, Yu Song's strength once matched his own, both stalled at mid-platinum, a long road short of diamond. Now Yu Song has warped into this ghostly shape, his attribute flipped to ice, and his strength somehow vaulted 2 full levels straight to diamond rank. The way he reads it, the enemy chief's ability turns living creatures into frost monsters, converts their attributes and cranks their strength far higher. The price is that the transformed lose all consciousness and become walking corpses. My many vassals suck in a breath at the man's tight, well-reasoned read. One realizes aloud that his own island sat even farther from Lord Zhangyan. He chose to spend the extra time and throw in with the number 1 power anyway, and in hindsight he had 1 foot through the gates of hell. Another spits that the enemy chief hid his true face so well no one guessed how vile his ability was. That refining mutated beasts is one thing, but he does not even spare the living. A third, who used to nurse a grudge about surrendering his own 5-unit island for only a little favor here, now counts himself blessed and admits he was living in paradise without knowing it. A fourth throws down that if they lose, they will be refined into frost corpses too, so they had better fight the man to the death. In a heartbeat, the vassal ranks harden into one shared hatred, their fighting spirit climbing hard. For all that most of these elite vassals sit at platinum rank and look a step beneath diamond rank ants, they are human. Humans who have fought their way to this strength command far more tricks than an ordinary ant. Fold in explosive techniques and real cooperation, and 100 elite vassals used well can go blow for blow with 100 diamond rank ants. Just as their fighting spirit erupts, the ice crystal mist begins to thin, slowly bearing the scene inside. Not only the vassals, but the Frost Chief and I are fixed on the aerial battle, both of us wearing calm faces, both confident in our flyers. Yet as the mist clears, one of us stays calm while the other's face caves in. Impossible. The Frost Chief chokes. Absolutely impossible. This is an elite force under the diamond rank Yusong. His face, already ashen as frost, floods with a dark red, the ugly color of a pig's liver, disbelief stamped across it. Just as Yusong's old friend guessed, the captain of the Frost Chief's aerial force is indeed Yusong, remade by the chief's own hand, and most of that aerial frost force now hangs charred and blackened, plummeting toward the ground, with only a scattered few still clinging on, tottering, ready to drop. Yusong at their head is in the same ruin, his body scorched, his ice wings mostly shattered, and where is the imposing diamond rank aura he wore on his first ascent? In the state he is in now, if he squatted at a roadside with a bowl, he could pull in a decent day's begging. So much for a diamond rank expert. The hover ant's condition finally shows itself to everyone too. Most carry only a rime of frost and a few scratches across their white bellies. A little blood weeping through. Banged up but nowhere near beaten. And the two hover ants flanking the formation have opened their bellies to reveal what they carried. Plasma ants shimmering head to tail with blue-violet arcs. It was they who struck inside the mist. One thunderous volley that routed the enemy's flyers in a single stroke. The last few stubborn enemy units still hanging in the air can hold no longer, and they crash down one after another. Those crashes ring in the opening of the ground war. Seeing his air force wiped out in one exchange, the Frost Chief's face goes gray. He wants to loose another aerial wave to pin them down, only to remember his elite flyers all died in that clash. The weaklings he has left would be nothing but fodder if he sent them up, and the battle will not freeze in place to wait for him to think. With no one left to hold them back, the 10 hover ants loaded with sentry ants, and the 2 loaded with plasma ants, sweep past the frost ranks like a gust of wind. They drive deep into enemy ground. Once they pull back to a safe distance, the sentry ants drop to scattered points, fold into stealth, and vanish without a trace, fanning out to hunt for the area core. The Frost Chief curses under his breath, watching my aerial unit slip inside his own defenses, and he knows without a second thought what a threat it poses to his rear camp. He stacked the overwhelming bulk of his force on the front line for a decisive clash with me, and never dreamed he would be shoved into so brutal a disadvantage from the very first move. Defend or not defend? Defend, and he is caught between 2 fires. Do not defend, and his base camp gets blown to pieces. Boxed in, he stalls for a moment, at a loss, but he is a man who grew up through blade and gunfire to reach this day, adaptable to the bone, and he settles it fast. He cannot defend. Retreat is a dead end. So he will fight, break through my ground forces faster than my ants can crack his core, and smash the area core first. Victory would still be his. He is savagely confident in those ground forces, which hold nearly 90% of his power. Since the air was always his weak flank, he throws away any thought of a temporary win or loss. Those frost ranks hold not only a spread of powerful mutated creatures, but the elite vassals the Frost Chief warped after swallowing dozens of black islands. Only the low-value vassals, too weak to be worth transforming, went untouched, penned and fattened like meat pigs to force their strength up for a frost conversion once their realm rose. Every other creature he ever met got remade into these grotesque, terrible frost monsters. And just as Yusong's friend deduced, the Frost Chief's ability is monstrous. After a frost conversion, so long as it does not exceed his own major realm, any creature gains 2 full levels of combat power. Since he stands at diamond rank, a creature that started at early diamond leaps to late diamond. Cultivating that leap the honest way would cost not only long stretches of time, but staggering piles of resources. The converted lose their sentience and drop to puppets that only follow orders, unable to improve ever again. Yet this unreasonable trick of turning raw potential into instant combat power let the Frost Chief steamroll everything. He rolled his snowball to the size it is now, and left to grow, he would have warped every human and every mutated creature in the whole area into these things. The man has become a slave to power, his humanity long gone. Reorganized and confident again, the Frost Chief commands his hundreds of thousands of frost ranks to charge, roaring at them to tear the enemy apart for their king. In an instant, over 100,000 of them, platinum ranks shot through with diamond, slam up against the black scythe hunting ants, and the 2 lines lock into close quarters combat. Both armies drive forward at once, and the sheer force of the meeting crushes the black scythe hunting ants and frost ranks caught in the middle into fragments outright. That is the raw weight of war, a weight even the iron-shelled black scythe hunting ants cannot simply shrug off. I stand on the wizard tower, brows knitting a little. This is shaping up to be the hardest battle I have fought yet. There is worry in my eyes, but I am not truly rattled. The ants at the absolute front are only platinum-grade black scythe hunting ants, while the diamond rank ones sit further back and never took the full brunt, so they were spared the crushing. And with the first collision spent, the whole army's momentum bleeds off, so it will not happen a second time. Soon the black scythe hunting ants and the frost ranks settle into a grinding tug of war, and the battle jams into a stalemate. That sight drags the frost chief's brow into a deep furrow on his hilltop, because this looks nothing like what he pictured. He had taken my aerial unit for the true main force and assumed his ground ranks would fold my line at a touch. He was sure I meant to run an aerial decapitation while my ground troops threw themselves away buying time. Now his frost ranks not only fail to swamp my line, but are slowly being pushed back, and that he cannot swallow, doubting even his own read of me. He refuses to believe it. How, he demands of no one, can any man field air and ground of equal weight? To seize this power, he sacrificed tens of thousands of elite humans and bore a mountain of moral condemnation. So having paid a price like that, how could he stand beneath me? He convinces himself he sees the trick, that I stacked all my real ground strength on the front line to spook him into hesitating. He sneers that such a cheap ploy could never fool a king like him. He simply will not accept that I could be this strong, since it blows past everything he understands. So he writes it off as a bluff. Full speed ahead, he orders, break up his main force, and the road behind will lie wide open. At his word, the Frost army erupts with another surge and pours on the charge. And true enough, as the pressure climbs, the platinum-grade black scythe hunting ants at the front edge toward buckling. Strong as they are for their tier, well past a typical platinum unit, the enemy's numbers are simply too vast, and the ranks are salted through with diamond rank elite corpses. Holding out this long was already a small miracle. The Frost chief's lips curl up, certain he is about to rip a hole in the line and rout my forces. Right then a rain of fiery red, round, spiky shapes comes dropping fast out of the sky. Their target is dead center in his Frost army. What is that? He frowns. He does not recognize the little spheres, but his diamond rank instinct alone reads an aura off them so dangerous he barks a command on reflex. The order is simple, to loose the ice spikes and skewer the orbs out of the air. At his order, arm-thick ice spikes rip upward at the red orbs. To his surprise, each orb takes only a few hits before it caves, far flimsier than the hover ants that were floating up there a moment ago. Watching them get punched through one by one, the Frost Chief lets a long-absent smile return, muttering that this is all they amount to. He gets only half the sentence out. In the next instant, a dazzling light detonates from every punctured orb, and a chain of colossal explosions rolls across the field loud enough to leave ears ringing. Heat and shockwaves and blasts tear through the frost ranks below, and in a heartbeat they gouge enormous craters into the mass of them. The dead cold frost meets the searing blast, and the whole battlefield vanishes under rising steam. The frost ranks at the blast centers evaporate, melted to nothing, and those at the fringes fare little better, flung every direction, torn apart at the limbs. Were they not soulless corpses, the wailing would be deafening by now. When the steam clears, the Frost Chief stands dumbstruck. His army of over 100,000 has been cut to under half, and much of that half is maimed and crippled by the blasts. Even diamond rank frost corpses caught at the center could not weather it and simply melted away. Fear knifes through him. He gave one idle order to pop a handful of red orbs. So how did it come to this? Even at his distance, the raw power of that explosion put a single certainty in him, that had he stood at the center, he might not have survived it either. The whole battle flips in an instant. One moment he brimmed with confidence, the next he sags like a whipped dog with its tail tucked. Unlike him, I feel wonderful. I take in the field before me with deep satisfaction. It was I who just ordered several diamond-grade self-destruct ants dropped into the enemy's heart, and the payoff is everything I hoped. For a large-scale war like this, nothing beats the self-destruct ants. Had the enemy been loosely spread, they would never have reaped a harvest this rich, but packed as tight as they were, the field was practically tailored for self-destruct ants. Mars is beside herself with excitement, firing message after eager message my way. She tells me the explosion her tribesmen just set was flat out perfect, and that all of them are buzzing about it now, clamoring to be sent to the front. A self-destruct ant lives for the blast. To trade its life for one magnificent explosion is the unchanging dream and creed of every last one of them. And a detonation that just claimed tens of thousands has left them green with envy. I smile and shake my head, telling Mars to keep the little ones reined in. I say the enemy is already in shambles, and 2 clean charges will finish them, with no need for the ants to spend themselves again. Raising a diamond-grade self-destruct ant is not cheap, and their explosions are not to be squandered. I feel Mars deflate at the refusal, and I soothe her with a smile, promising there will be a time and place for her to prove her worth. She answers that she understands. The vassal ranks trailing the black scythe hunting ants have not even had the chance to throw a single skill, and seeing what the self-destruct ants accomplished up front, they stand there stunned, eyes wide. One blurts that it is over before he even started. Another says that had he been at the blast center, he would have ascended to heaven without ever feeling the pain. A third marvels that those frost corpses looked plenty tough a moment ago. He braced for a savage fight with real blood and lives lost, only for the whole thing to become a mess in the blink of an eye. A fourth just tells everyone to be grateful they are standing on this side, since it is hard to picture who could ever be the Lord's match when they are winning flat on their backs. I give the Frost Chief no more room. While his frost troops reel from the self-destruct ants, I give the order, and my ground forces charge as one, the vassals surging in behind them, hurling themselves at the badly weakened frost ranks. Plasma ants hover overhead and pour staggering plasma into whatever frost ranks still hold formation, blue-purple arcs bursting among them, dropping fresh chaos and charring bodies black. The whole army moves like one terrible engine of war, harvesting the frost corpses with brutal efficiency. These things are walking corpses already, and I have no thought of subduing them, only of granting them a quick and merciful end. Rest in peace. A pity these frost corpses carry no souls, so my clear ants have no use for them, and it seems these soulless husks come with a real edge against beings who lean on spiritual power. Should I wonder for a moment, then shake my head. Forget it. It is a crooked road in the end. Even if I remade a few frost corpses of my own, a top-tier god king would surely have other ways to deal with them. These things have no wits and no path forward. Defective goods through and through. Only this short-sighted chief would treat them as treasure. My gaze slides across the field and locks onto the Ashen Frost Chief on his mountaintop. I raise my right hand and bring it down sharp, ordering them to deal with him. The main front is already winding toward its close. The scattered frost corpses mostly cleared, only a handful left to be ringed in and put down. In a blink, dozens of diamond-grade black scythe hunting ants, diamond-rank clear ants, and diamond-rank plasma ants tear out and hem the Frost Chief in. He turns and looks at the staggering ring of diamond-rank ants closing on him, and lets out a helpless smile. He says nothing of surrender. He knows how unforgivable his deeds are in the eyes of the world, and since he set foot on this road of no return, he never once thought of turning back. He tells me only that he is lost, but that I will not win forever either, and that he will be watching me, waiting for the day I fall. His voice drips venom, and before the surrounding ants can move, he lifts the ice-sealed longsword in his hand and drives it into his own heart. He angles it down until it impales through into the back of this frost unicorn, the blade propping his body upright. His gray-white eyes stay wide open, fixed straight in my direction, a man dead without ever closing them. I only shake my head gently, not the least bit shaken. Boring. Lost is lost. I tell Swift Shadow to give the command, and we move out to collect the spoils of war. The Frost Chief is dead and the fight for his Black Island is over. His 33-unit island drifts toward mine, and mine takes it in the way a mouth takes food. It absorbs the island, swallows it and folds it into my own body, until it is simply another part of me. I feel the change ripple through my territory, and let a flicker of joy show on my face. Once this island is fully devoured, my own will swell to a full 80 units. The swallowing runs fast, but the prize is so massive that it will take at least 3 more hours to finish the meal. That leaves me a little uneasy. It is nearly time for the next suction upgrade, and if the last remaining chief were behaving normally, I would not worry. But even now that chief has not stirred his island at all, hanging in the distance, showing no interest in swooping in to scavenge while I am busy tearing another island apart, his whole posture reads as wrong. Never mind. I cannot control how long the devouring takes. I can only move once the meal is done, and at least I still have 1 super leap held in reserve. Paired with the 57-unit speed my island will carry once it reaches 80, I should be able to close the gap fast and put him down. I let out a slow breath and stop chewing the problem over. Then I turn my attention to the troops below. Under Swift Shadow's command, my ant army is already fanning out across the captured island, sweeping it for resources and items and hauling everything back to the warehouse. Mei Mu Chung leads the rest of the vassal forces back onto my own island. About half an hour into the sweep, Swift Shadow's voice comes through our contract, telling me her scouts have found something. Curious, I ask her what, and she reports that the tribesmen at the Vanguard have located the target's main base, the storehouse where every resource and item on the dead chief's island was kept. I nod. Earlier, my hovering ants ferried thousands of sentry ants past the front line and dropped them deep behind enemy lines. After another half hour of probing, they have finally uncovered the core of this island. Swift Shadow adds one more thing. Besides the goods, the tribesmen have found 20,000 humans penned inside the core. 20,000. That surprises me, because the Frost Chief had the power to turn living beings into frost ghouls, and yet he left this many alive. For a moment I wonder if I misjudged the man, if he was not quite as cruel as I assumed. Swift Shadow, linked to my mind, reads the doubt before I finish it and explains further. She says these humans are livestock. Every day they are forced to swallow a high-energy item that spikes their strength while savaging their vitality. Many have climbed to silver, gold, even platinum rank in nominal realm, yet they carry only the title and none of the real power. The worst of them have less than a year of life left, and the strongest maybe 5. My expression darkens and I fall silent. I had let myself believe the Frost Chief kept a thread of dignity, that he only transformed the strong and spared the weak. That was naive of me. He was colder than I imagined. With fewer lines he would not cross. And he was raising people like cattle. To him the logic was simple. Every vassal was going to be rendered down into a frost ghoul eventually, and whatever vitality remained would be drained at that moment. So all he needed was for their realms to hit a number. It was the most cost-effective harvest he could run. Swift Shadow asks how I want to handle them. I stay quiet a while, my gaze drifting far off. If I threw everything I had at it, saving them and pouring their emptied vitality back would not be impossible. But how rare are items that restore vitality, and how many mouths are 20,000? To truly refill them all would burn resources enough to raise a full 1,000 diamond rank ants. In a dark world that eats the careless, spending like that is close to suicide. I have a sliver of human kindness in me, but I am no saint who bleeds himself dry for strangers. I do only what I can afford. So I shake my head, my mood soured, and give the order to bring them home. They are to be treated as ordinary subjects, and whatever else happens, to spend whatever days remain living like people, not machinery. Swift Shadow relays the command at once. Far off in the Frost Chief's old core, a portion of the sentry ants peel away and herd the 20,000 onto the backs of hovering ants, carrying them toward my territory. Man or woman, every one of them has gone gray-haired, slack-skinned, and hunched like elders of 90 teetering on the edge of the grave. In truth, the oldest among them are only in their 40s, and most are in their 20s and 30s. Faced with talking sentry ants and hovering ants out of a dream, a thin flicker of surprise crosses their faces and dies just as fast, leaving their eyes flat and dead. Most of them stopped hoping long ago. In their minds, every lord is cut from the same rotten cloth, and wherever they are dragged, they will simply be burned up as fuel. So what does it matter where they go? Only the oldest, most animal instinct buried in human blood keeps them moving at all, breathing because the body has not yet been told to stop. What they do not know is that they are bound for a city that will feel like a dream, a place where they will be handed back their dignity and their reason to be alive. 3 hours later, the Frost Chief's Black Island is fully devoured. Mine has reached its full 80 units, and its sailing speed has leapt with it. The added bonus now runs as high as 470%, and my speed has broken through to 57 units. That shrinks the 20 units of level 3 suction into something I barely feel. The instant the merge completes, without a heartbeat of hesitation, I point my island at the last one left in the region and set sail. That final island still sits almost perfectly still. At a full 57 units, even dragging level 3 suction the whole way, I move fast, and against a stationary target the math should not take long. Unfortunately, the distance is brutal, and even at my speed it will take 2 full days to reach him. 2 days is nothing under ordinary conditions, but these are not ordinary conditions. Less than half a day remains before the suction climbs again, and I honestly cannot say whether that chief will hold his spot long enough for me to arrive. Worse, his island already floats close to the central vortex. If level 4 suction spikes hard enough, there is every chance the vortex will swallow and crush him before I ever close the gap. For now, all I can do is wait. This is no longer a situation I can steer by hand. I pull a deep breath in and force the stale air and the restlessness out of my chest together. Right on cue, as my nerves start to fray, word comes that the God King has sent a message. I settle my mind, slip into the mask of the Destruction Dragon Ant, and open the channel. The God King demands to know why, with the vortex event nearing its end, he can still sense the target drawing breath. I tell him the target is the last island standing in my region, and that for reasons both public and private I intend to slay him myself. He is pleased, and promises a rich reward once the deed is done. I thank him with all the false devotion I can muster. I have no idea what is unfolding on his end. It is a short, prodding check-in, and the exchange dies quickly. I think for a moment, then message Baekhyun. I tell him the God King just reached out and that I fed him a hollow answer. Baekhyun says the same fraud of a god pinged him first and asks whether once we swallow the next island we should scrub off that con man's mark as well. I agree. Then he mentions his own final battle is almost on him. He may still be neck deep in it when I finish and unable to spare a hand, so he wants to pass me the prepared item now, in advance. I thank him and tell him to be careful in the fight and to call the moment he needs help. He just laughs it off and swears there will be no trouble. Soon after, Baekhyun trades over a small bottle of clear golden liquid and a note on how to use it. He says the method is simple, that I only need to smear the elimination liquid onto the marked area, and the mark will fade on its own. A trace of life force gets nibbled away during the process, he warns, but it is nothing that matters to the individual. It only fakes the scent of death, enough to throw that fraud god off the trail. I turn the golden bottle over in my hand, smiling, and drop it into my storage ring. The kid thinks of everything, and even accounted for this. Reliable as ever. I ponder a bit, then send quick messages to Chunha and the other two, asking roughly when their final battles are set to fall. The answer comes back nearly identical across the board. Everyone's decisive fight lands inside the same narrow window, which when I chew on it, makes perfect sense. This whole Vortex event runs a lot like the Last Circle survival games back on Blue Star. The rising suction is the shrinking safe zone, herding everyone into one tiny ring for the final brawl. Unless a chief's strength is truly absurd, most regions will settle their conquests within these 2 days, which means I will have neither the time nor the strength to prop any of them up. Luckily, when I ask, Changha and the others are confident enough in their own power that none of them wants my help. That frees me to keep both eyes on my own enemy. My ant queens are still deep in pre-battle preparation, grinding out soldiers as fast as they can. I do not ease off my guard just because the foe rules a mere 23-unit island. If anything, his strangeness makes me warier. I do not know what he is scheming as I watch the oddly drifting island on the map, but against raw, overwhelming strength the ending does not change. Then I stop staring and head for the gravity room to keep training. When the nerves gnaw, giving your hands something to do makes the clock run faster. Far away, on the island I am racing toward, the great array the chief in black robe has spent so long feeding is finally nearing completion. He hangs cross-legged in the air and his tightly shut eyes crack open the barest sliver. 2 ribbons of black energy knife out from between his lids, splitting the air with little bursting cracks, and their raw force is not a hair below platinum rank. That much power leaks from him just by opening his eyes. His strength has climbed to something genuinely monstrous. Feeling the reservoir swelling inside him, the chief in black robe nods, satisfied, and looks down at the dark array beneath him with cold indifference. Below, people sit in rows while black energy is drawn ceaselessly from their bodies, rising into the air toward him and vanishing into his frame. That black energy is the distilled essence of their power, the core they cultivated and condensed over years. As a source, it regenerates, refilling slowly even under heavy drain so long as the core survives. By right, such power sources are almost impossible to pull free. Only the array he built lets the chief in black robe siphon them out and refine them through his own peculiar method. Some is lost in the transfer, but with tens of thousands of humans feeding the array, even a trickle from each becomes, pooled into one man, a force too large to picture. Endless confidence rises in him. He fixes his gaze on the map, on Jang Hyun sailing at him under supersonic sailing, and sneers that the fool is racing eagerly to his own funeral. He tells himself he needs only a little longer, just 3 more hours to drink it all in. And then a familiar voice cuts across his gloating. It announces that 21 days have passed since the Great Vortex began, that the 3rd suction upgrade is now underway, and that the pull has risen to level 4. The chief in black robe startles. Already the 21st day. These past days he has poured himself into the array and barely bothered to devour islands at all. Had he hunted normally, his island might still trail mine, but it would not lag far behind the Frost Chiefs. As it is, the array has held him back, and his island sits at a stunted 23 units, with a sailing speed that against a level 4 pull can only be called crawling. The instant the suction jumps, his island, which had been inching outward, lurches as though a giant hand seized it and yanked. It slides toward the central vortex at a terrifying clip. Sitting cross-legged in the air, he pitches violently, catches his balance with a stunned face, and flings himself toward the region core. He cannot believe how much stronger this is than level 3. He never bothered to calculate the number, but the pull tells him plainly that it has reached something outrageous. Frantic, he all but teleports to the core and stares at the map, watching the light that marks his island skate toward the vortex before his eyes, the gap between them barely widening at all. Sweat pours off the terrifyingly strong chief as he wrestles his island away from the maw. He wants to simply grab it and carry it clear on his own strength. But reality is cruel. However he strains, the island will not budge an inch, and it keeps sliding toward the vortex on a course that will not reverse. At this rate, he is finished. He roars at the island to stop, snarling at it like a disobedient dog, his cold poise gone, his eyes almost wet with panic. He can only watch, helpless. Then his eyes flash, as if he has found a crack to slip through, and his gaze snaps toward the region core. At that same moment, in the same region, I take the suction news too. I feel my own island jerk under the pull, and it surprises me. My sailing speed is a full 57 units, and even I am dragged this hard. Just how vicious is level 4? I pull out my pocket watch, study the map, and after a quick calculation land on a number that stuns me. 50. Level 4 suction is a full 50 units. Level 3 was only 20, which means the jump was 2.5 times over in one step. No wonder even I felt it bite. Fortunately, my own speed sits at 57, so as strong as level 4 is, it still does not threaten my survival. I breathe out, then a thought strikes me, and my face changes. My 80-unit island can just barely ride out level 4 for 7 days. So what about him? I whip my eyes back to my target, and my pupils shrink. His island is being reeled straight into the central vortex. This is bad. Once that island is eaten by the vortex, mine can never break past 100 units, and I will never gain immunity to the pool. Level 4 is already this terrible, and if the suction climbs once more in 7 days, I will have no way at all to escape. The Great Vortex event lasts 30 days, and we are on the 21st. 7 days from now, on the 28th, the pull rises to level 5. There are only 2 days left after that, but against the horror of level 5, 2 days, 1 day, even half a day would likely be more than I could bear. In other words, if I want to avoid being swallowed and ground to nothing, I have exactly one path: devour the target island. And that island is currently sliding into the vortex at breakneck speed. By my own speed math, I probably will not reach it in time. Am I, Jang Hyun, really about to die for a reason this stupid? No, there is still a sliver of hope, just an ugly one. I frown hard and work the angles. My speed can weather level 4 for 7 days, no question. In that time, I could shift every subject and every resource on my island onto 09s in the others' islands. The trouble is that if I do, I become a dependent, leaning on friends for a long stretch. It is a last resort. If any other road existed, I would not touch it. Our bond is strong, but having no ground of my own would always be a splinter under the skin. I have not surrendered yet. I am already driving my island, taking an early angle, steering for the spot where the target will be devoured. The numbers say I cannot beat the vortex to him, but giving up has never been in my nature. Even at a 1 in 10,000 chance, I will fight for it. I stare at the map as if I can will a miracle into being, and after more than 10 minutes of staring, as though heaven finally heard me, the target island swerves off its predicted line. What is he trying to do? My eyes light up, and I study the island and carefully plot where it is now headed. The map is not cluttered with obstacles, so in a few seconds his purpose lands on me. He means to change course and dive into the instance sitting right beside the vortex, the one I cannot even color read as green or cyan. The leader of an instance that high could easily be a legendary rank existence. How dare he? Then, just as fast, I understand. It is not about daring, but that he has no other choice. In his place, I would do exactly the same. Throw everything into it and claw a road to survival out of the impossible. I pull a deep breath and let it out, my gaze fixed on that high-tier instance. With the instance dragging him in, I might actually catch up, but I have to move fast and reach him before he is fully swallowed. If the instance finishes eating him, it will upgrade again, and if it turns blue, or a purple dungeon, I will have no chance whatsoever. By my read, the leaders of green and cyan instances can reach legendary rank. For blue and purple dungeons, forget the far-off mythical tier, the odds of a legendary rank leader are all but 100%, and a legendary rank creature is at least 10 times a diamond rank 1, a difference not of degree, but of kind. That is not an enemy I can touch at my current stage. My eyes harden, and I drive my island toward the instance. It is a true race against death now. Hold on for me. The chief in black robe, veering toward the region's last instance, has a mad glint in his eye. He has been so buried in the energy absorption array that he forgot the instance was even there. He crows to himself that heaven never bricks up every exit. With the immediate threat of death gone, he feels invincible again. He has cleared few instances and barely grasps how dangerous they are. He is not like me, so he does not recognize this place for the horror it is. Even so, even knowing the leader might carry legendary rank strength, he is not shaken. After days of drinking down the essence of tens of thousands, he feels colossal. Set a true dragon before him and he is sure he could become the dragon slayer who bathes in its blood, let alone a small instance. He tells himself to hoard some strength anyway. The array's power is borrowed and unrefined, thinning with every use, and it was meant for me, the last chief. Plans never keep pace with the world though, so he will spend a little here first. A mere instance should not cost much, and that other chief just finished a hard battle, so surely he is weakened too. In this regional conquest, he decides he will still be the last man standing. He laughs like a lunatic, already seeing himself crowned over the whole region, and his island plunges into that instance whose color no one can name. Not far off, my island bears down at a savage pace. Because I am running with the vortex, an extra 50 units of pull stacked onto my speed. My island now streaks along at a full 107 units, quick as a lightning bolt. Half a day passes before the chief in black robe's island collides with the higher instance. Fast as my island flies, the distance means I still need more than half a day to arrive. I hope he can hold until I get there, but facing a flood of high instance monsters, I doubt he can. I have run many instances. They differ in difficulty but share one trait. The monsters come endless and their attacks come vicious. If not for my huge ant army and my vassal legions, even I might have been buried under the relentless tide. Whether this chief can weather it, I have no idea, and stranded out of reach, all I can do is silently pray. Praying for an enemy, praying for him to be stronger. That is a strange first for me. An hour into contact with the higher instance, the chief in black robe has already lost his opening bravado and his wild grin. Sweat sheets down his drenched face. He stands on the front line, gritting through the weakening haze that is neither green nor blue. With every sweep of his arm, a gout of dark energy erupts and mows down a broad swath of monsters like scythe wheat. The mist has strengthened these creatures. Their realm is only platinum, yet their power hovers a breath below diamond. And still he reaps them like grain. He is arrogant, but he has the strength to back it. However strong he is, though, he is one man. His vassals were long ago rendered into energy blood bags, drained of all combat power, useless for easing his burden. Against the fearless, seemingly bottomless horde, he finally accepts the fact he has been refusing. Even with a full tank of energy, he cannot hold this line alone. Two options sit before him. He can fight and fall back, buying time until my island arrives to split the pressure and win in the chaos. But given the distance and my speed, that is more than half a day away, and he has burned 10% of his energy in a single hour. Holding out that long would leave him spent, so it is not a plan he trusts. The other option is to abandon the line entirely and let the monsters and mist pour into his territory. Then he gambles on reaching the instance core and killing the instance leader before his island is fully swallowed. If he keeps bleeding on the front line, he will be worn down to a corpse. Even if he lasts until the chief arrives, his energy will be near empty. But if he spends himself in one furious push and cracks the instance leader within an hour or two, everything changes. Before the chief shows, he can seize the instance's resources to lift himself and still steal a few hours to recover. He decides almost without pausing, leaving mounds of monster corpses behind. He shoots into the air and flies for the depths of the instance. Another hour bleeds away. The chief in black robe, no scout by trade, finally finds the instance core and dives in. The moment he enters, monsters loom before him, and every one of these ordinary core guards has reached diamond rank, sharpened further by the mist. They swarm him all at once, and even he strains, unable to sweep them aside. He curses. After a long grinding fight, he stands panting, most of his energy gone, having only just cleared the common monsters. He gets no breath of rest. An even more dreadful thing steps forward, and feeling the aura roll off it, he looks up in raw horror and chokes that this cannot be real. I am still waiting, nerves pulled thin, drawing my pocket watch now and then to check the state of things. Even counting the super leap, I am 6 hours from the target. I only hope he holds. Out of habit, I tug the watch free again, and the next instant my pupils clamp down. The target island is being devoured by the instance. At speed, he is lost. That is not even the worst of it. As his island is eaten, the instance I could not sort as green or blue slowly begins to seep a shade of blue-violet. Blue-violet. Shock floods my face. I had already guessed the chief would fall, but what guts me is the color. Instance difficulty runs low to high through the 7 bands of the rainbow. Red, orange, yellow, green, cyan, blue, then purple. If devouring one more island shoves it toward blue-violet, then it was already cyan before. Almost certainly cyan on the very edge of upgrading. That blue-violet glow means it is crossing from blue into purple right now. My brows knit and my heart clenches as dread washes through me. For a cyan instance, the final boss could well be a legendary rank existence. For a blue, let alone a purple dungeon, the boss is all but guaranteed legendary, and not freshly legendary either, but somewhere in the mid to upper reaches of that tier. This is without question the strongest opponent I have ever faced. I stare at the map, watching the instance boil toward purple while my island keeps sailing straight for it, and hesitation flickers in me. Stop or push on. If I break now, my 57 units can fully shrub off the 50-unit level 4 pull, and I could buy 5 or 6 days of quiet. After that, I would still have 2 roads. Pack up and run to 0-9 in the others, or stake everything on the army I could raise in those 5 days and go down swinging against the instance. Pushing on means striking before the instance has fully digested its meal and matured into purple. I would ride the fact that the chief in black robe just gutted its monster ranks, maybe even wounded its boss so it is not healed. It means charging in at top speed for a desperate do-or-die fight. Both roads carry their weight. If I stop, I am better prepared, but the instance reaches its complete state, and whether or not it climbs to purple, all the damage the chief in black robe dealt gets repaired. If I run at full speed, my own preparations come up a little short. I hold off changing course and let my island keep flying. There are still several hours of sailing left, and at my speed I can break at any moment, so I have time to think. This is a matter of life and death, and it deserves caution. I weigh the 2 roads, exhale a long breath, and feel my resolve firm. That chief lost in the end, but he was real. He fought a cyan instance on the brink of upgrading for hours, so his strength far outstripped an ordinary 23-unit chief, and he must have carved deep wounds into that place. Seen that way, rushing in now beats letting the instance heal fully while I train a few more days. The advantage is greater. As for packing up and fleeing to my teammates, that was never truly on the table. If I ran at every hard moment, then even if I did not die today, in this man-eating dark world, the day would eventually come when I was devoured anyway. Still, though rushing in offers the best odds, the final call should not rest on me alone. A faint smile tugs at my mouth. It should rest on my teammates, for so long I have leaned on my own strength to crush my enemies, that I keep forgetting my friends are strong too. If 09 and the others can lend me enough free strength, I go now. If they are locked in their own fights, I go untangle their battles first, and then we hit the instance together. Teammates are for exactly this, aren't they? I am not a lone wolf, so why should I shoulder the whole world by myself? Against an instance this brutal, this is precisely the time to press the advantage of numbers. Decision made, I let my island keep barreling toward the target. Pick up my manual and message the group. Within a few minutes the replies stack up. Baekhyun fires back first, thrilled at the words high difficulty instance. Reading it as a mountain of treasure he refuses to miss. He says his side is no problem at all. The last island in his region folded half a day ago after his persuasion, and his own is still merging. Once it finishes, his island will hit 115 units, immune to the suction. Nothing left to fear. He will just tidy up and come over. That leaves me a little stunned. I did not expect Baekhyun to move so much faster than me, or his island to reach 115 units. Then it clicks. Every region runs its own course and cannot be measured by one ruler, and his islands were likely gnawed less by the vortex, which is why his could swell so large. Still, if I can swallow this final high-tier instance, I might end up outgrowing even Baekhyun. The reason this instance leveled so fast comes down entirely to where it sits, right on the lip of the vortex. The chiefs strong enough to conquer it never dared drift that close, so they could not take it quickly. And the weaker chiefs who could not resist the pull, on the verge of being swallowed by the vortex, would clutch at this instance as a last hope and instead become its food. That is why it climbed the ranks so fast. The upshot is that the instance in my region has effectively plugged the vortex, intercepting every island the vortex meant to eat, and eating them itself. In a roundabout way it has been saving up for me. Conquer it, and beyond the instance's own rewards, my island's area jumps by dozens of units. This is no mere instance. It is a bank stuffed with assets. Of course, it is only a bank if I can crack it. If I cannot, I become just another asset inside, sitting there while the next hungry mouth comes to claim it. After Baekhyun's message, Cheonghaz arrives fast. She tells me she is mid-battle over here, and may not be able to break away. Then she catches herself and adds that this war is the last one in her territory, that once she puts down this chief, her island will pass 100 units, and the regional fight ends. She has read the enemy's strength completely, and is already directing her army in. Her awakened plants, Little Green, and a slice of her tree spirits and vassals are plenty to settle it. She cannot come herself, but she can send Little Tree to lead a squad of tree spirits to me. I ask whether that will cost her. She insists it will not, that she truly does not need help, that this chief's ability is merely a nuisance she has to grind down slowly. Even if I came, she says, I could not end it any faster. She says my situation is the urgent one, so I should not come. Besides, Little Green cannot move, so the most she could ever bring me is Little Tree and the other tree spirits anyway. Sending them over is very nearly the largest gift she can hand my coming battle. I nod, because she is right. If she ships me that band of diamond-ranked tree spirits, she does not need to come in person, so I thank her sincerely. She waves it off, saying that between old teammates thanks are pointless, and that I have carried her plenty before. Now that I need help, and she has the strength to spare, how could she possibly stand by? She tells me to get back to my work, that she has to keep commanding, and that when I return in victory we will celebrate together. I agree. With that she fires a teleport request, and a heartbeat later exactly 50 tree spirits appear on the white teleportation array led by the tall tree spirit king, Little Tree. Cheonghwa herself does not come. As they land, the tree spirits glance around, curious and jittery, downright timid. Settling only once, Little Tree brings them to order. Then he arranges his band, beats his transparent cicada-like wings, and glides in front of me for a light, graceful bow. He tells me his master sent him to fight at my side, and that his master's orders are mine to give. I look at Little Tree, a little amused, and note aloud that so he can speak human tongue after all. I thank him for coming and say I will have someone show them to arrest, that I will call for them before the battle. He answers yes, Lord Jonghyun. As a highly intelligent race, of course he speaks human language. Back at Cheonghwa's place he stayed silent only because she could understand his elven speech, and because I was there to carry off the tree spirit dew he had so painstakingly brewed. In his eyes I was a landlord squeezing a tenant farmer, which soured him, so he pointedly used elven speech and refused to deal with me. This time he has no choice but to obey and serve, so he can no longer hide it. He rolls his eyes at me anyway, then leads his tree spirits after a nearby sentry ant and files out of the room. Watching them go, I sigh softly and shake my head with a wry smile. Chungha, why put yourself out like this? Your own fight is urgent and you still shipped me this many tree spirits. I had asked her a bit about it. Cultivating a single tree spirit is slow work, and only a few days have passed, so her whole stock cannot be large. Yet she sent a full 50 and even parted with the tree spirit king. She is in the middle of a decisive battle, and it is very likely she now has fewer tree spirits than I do. More than that, her battle is probably nowhere near as easy as she painted it. It is likely genuinely nasty enough that she cannot break away for even a minute. If things were truly as light as she claimed, why send the tree spirits alone rather than escort them, when she could not spare the seconds for the teleport herself? Her side must be a tangle. Though I know she hid the real picture from me, I say nothing more. It was her choice, so as her teammate I simply file the favor away in my heart and tell myself to settle my own fight fast. Maybe then I can still go help her. Another message chimes in, this time from 09. She says only 2 clipped sentences, that her battle is resolved and she is coming over, and the next instant a teleport request follows. I blink, catch up, and approve it. A girl steps out onto the array, a knee-length white researcher's coat over a silver-white skin-tight combat suit, her smooth silver-white twin ponytails hanging loose behind her, her expression flat as ever. It is 09, whom I have not seen in a while. I am mildly taken aback. After only a few days, the aura around her has grown even heavier, that machine-like weight to her presence. I know what it means. Her power has climbed again, her human edges worn a little smoother, her mechanical side pressed a little sharper. I look at her with quiet worry, then paste on an easy smile and ask, lightly, why she always keeps her hair in twin ponytails, since surely short hair would suit combat better. 09 goes quiet a moment. Then she pulls her smooth silver-white tails around from behind to the front, tilts her head and says in her usual flat tone that she knows, but she likes it. Likes it. I stall for half a beat and the smile I forced onto my face loosens into something real and warm. She said only a handful of words, yet they let the stone in my chest thud down and settle. As long as she likes it. Having a favorite pretty hairstyle is exactly the kind of thought only a young girl carries. That is good. It tells me her change lives only on the surface, in her bearing, and that underneath she is still human, still a girl who minds how she looks. I breathe easier, a real smile on my lips. I glance at my manual again, but the update I want still is not there. After all this time, Will has made no move at all, which is deeply unlike him. He was always the punctual one, the reliable one, this big rugged bear of a man with a surprisingly fine-tuned mind. Every message I sent used to earn an instant reply the moment he saw it. Lately, though, he has gone quiet and withdrawn. Did something happen? I frown and reach along the mutual aid contract for his life aura. It has not wavered much. I let out a small breath of relief. Just then a teleportation array flares to life in front of 09 and me. A figure in a gaudy white suit and top hat sweeps out of it, announcing grandly that the protagonist has arrived. It is Baekhyun, who whips off the white top hat, holds it flat across his chest, and strikes what he clearly imagines is an elegant pose. On him it looks awkward from every possible angle, for reasons I cannot explain. Baekhyun seems to carry a kind of magic charm. Every time I lay eyes on him I feel noticeably lighter. I ask him, smiling faintly, where on earth he picked up that routine. He tucks the hat into his storage ring and shrugs helplessly, asking whether it is really that strange. He explains he got the idea from some entertainment out of Blue Star, where the popular characters always land a signature move and catchphrase on their entrance. Since he is handsome and charismatic and strong now, he figured it was time to craft an entrance of his own. Baekhyun's mind works in ways all its own. No wonder the Baek family, for all his talent, never groomed him to take the seat of family head. The man simply does not read as dependable. I nod through a smile and tell him I have no objection as long as it makes him happy. He had just better not get ambushed and killed the instant he freezes into a pose, since that would not be cool in the slightest. He nods hard and swears he would never do anything that dumb. Then he spots the petite 09 I had partly blocked from view and asks where Sister Chungha and Will are, whether they are coming this time. I shake my head gently and tell him this operation is just the 3 of us, and that although Chungha is not coming, she sent a diamond-ranked tree spirit squad. As for Will, he may have run into some situation, since he still has not answered. Baekhyun nods along, marveling at Chungha's generosity, grumbling that when he once tried to borrow a tree spirit, she would not part with a single one. Even without Will, he declares, the few of us together will handle this with no trouble at all. Standing off to the side, 09 frowns faintly at that, draws out a strange spherical instrument to check it, then lets her brow ease. After a moment's thought, she pulls out a manual, sends a few messages, and slips back into her calm. Seeing both of them ready, I wave them into seats and pour tea, telling them we still have a little time and I will brief them. They both sharpen at once, and I go on. I already sketched the broad shape in my earlier messages. What we are about to walk into is an instance very likely climbing into a purple dungeon, currently the single most punishing instance in the whole dark world. The instance leader of a purple dungeon goes without saying, a legendary rank existence beyond doubt, possibly one from the upper middle reaches of that tier. I even suspect the common monsters roaming outside the instance core may already carry diamond rank strength, very possibly upper middle diamond at that. Baekhyun's face turns grave, all his easy cheer gone. A legendary rank creature, and an upper middle one. At this stage, no one alive would dare promise a win against that. Even freshly ascended legendary creatures are barely ever seen, so most people have no concrete sense of how terrifying one truly is. And it is not only the legendary leader. Ordinary monsters wielding upper middle diamond strength are a force impossible to wave off, and packed at instance density, at that power they are a nightmare. On top of it all sits the instance mist, buffing them and gutting us at once, a two-sided blade grim enough to make anyone despair just imagining it. Baekhyun manages a strained joke, asking whether it is not all a bit much, and whether cracking this instance would make us obscenely rich. He is excited, but a bitter smile hangs on him. The combat power I just described is simply too outrageous. Even the usually unflappable 09 is frowning, finding it a genuine headache. Seeing the strain on their faces, I smile and reassure them not to panic yet. The instance is brutal, yes, but I did not come empty-handed. The very reason I am rushing the two of them here instead of waiting on Chungha and Will is simple. This instance was just raided by a powerful chief and is currently in a state well short of full recovery. Baekhyun looks lost at that, so I explain. Once, I cleared an orange instance that had just eaten several black islands and jumped from red to orange. When I went in, I found the place covered in fresh scars, the monster density plainly thinner than in orange instances that had ripened over time. Some of the monsters, though their strength had risen with the upgrade, still bore battle-torn bodies and drained energy, not yet mended. So if we enter while this instance has not finished its upgrade, or just as it completes, we do not meet its full power. Think of the chief who tore through it first as another teammate, I tell them. The damage he inflicted, we cash in, and the pressure on us drops sharply. Baekhyun lets out a long breath and grins, saying I scared him half to death, that by my account we really ought to thank that pioneer for all the help he handed us. I nod, smiling too. Whatever drove him to fight that instance, whatever ugly intent he carried, the result served us well. Then I add that I also have a talented subordinate who has cooked up a range of pills, among them an obstacle-breaking pill that grants immunity to the mist's weakening. The duration is short, but production is fast, and I have stockpiled enough in my warehouse to keep every one of our people immune straight through until the instance falls. Baekhyun's eyes light up. Such a thing exists. He says I really do keep talented people around, and with this our odds climb several more points. One of the instance's greatest terrors is exactly that mist, which lifts the monsters and drags us down, so nullifying the weakening cuts the mist's roll in half at a stroke. The difficulty just dropped a fair bit again. He can hardly sit still, insisting that with me this well prepared, there is nothing left to discuss and we should simply get on with it. I smile and shake my head. This is only the beginning. I have a few more preparations, and we should go take a look together. I rise and lead the way out toward the Wizard Tower's observation deck. Baekhyun and 09 trail after me, curious. Along the way, I have the tunneling ants summon the Tree Spirit King, Little Tree, since he will be fighting later and carries real weight, so he should hear the arrangements too. Soon the three of us and the Tree Spirit King stand on the deck, where the height opens a clean, sweeping view. Following my gaze, Baekhyun, 09, and Little Tree look out to the northeastern edge of my black island. There, huge creatures with tool-tipped forelimbs, like walking excavation rigs, tear trenches into the ground at speed. These are the tunneling ants. Trenches is a modest word for them. They are gouged deep and wide and long, snaking the whole northeastern border like a natural chasm, and sentry ants dart nimbly along the edges, tucking something down into the gaps. I lay it out for them. Only by killing the instance leader is the instance truly cleared. In a lesser instance, we could grind forward at our leisure, but not this one. Once it finishes ascending, it hits the highest band, purple, where even the rank-and-file monsters are savage, and every second we stall drains us hard, so my plan splits the force in two, a main body and a decapitation team. The main body holds the front, pinning the ordinary monsters with the fewest troops it can. The decapitation team drives straight for the instance core to behead the leader in one stroke, before the main body caves. The trenches will slow the monsters, and I have seeded a handful of diamond-grade blasting ants inside them, ready to detonate and stall the enemy when things turn desperate. Right now we are here only to settle who goes where. Neither post outranks the other. Both are lethal, and we simply need every strength placed where it fits best. They nod, Baekhyun lifts his chin and says he is set on the decapitation team. His power has some use in the trenches, he admits, but his buff and debuff items pull far more weight in a boss fight. 09 nods that she is with him. Little Tree hesitates, then asks whether he might instead lead his tribesmen into the main body, since the tree spirit's command of wood element skills suits defense in the trenches better than attack. With their choices made, I nod. Good. My ant deployment was settled long ago, and the main body already holds plenty of ants built for trench work. And in this fight I will take the field myself, leading the charge with all of you into the instance core to run the decapitation. Baekhyun refuses at once, protesting that I can command my ants from afar, so why put myself in danger? He says I am a fragile class, close kin to a beast tamer, and beheading work should be left to the professionals. A thread of worry crosses 09's eyes, and she nods along. To be fair, neither of them has ever really watched me fight. I shake my head, smiling, and ask whether they are looking down on me. I act rarely, I tell them, but only because there is seldom a need, not because I lack the strength. And then, mid-sentence, my body drifts slowly off the deck into the air. Under their startled stares, I raise my right hand, and a sphere of lightning laced with blue-violet arcs takes shape in my palm. I flick it almost lazily into the open ground below. It knifes through the air, crackling, and slams into the earth, and a huge roar tears open a bottomless crater in the ground. Under Baekhyun's slack-jawed gaze, I clasp my hands behind my back and say calmly that as it happens, my own strength is not small either. Both 09 and Little Tree carry a deep shock in their eyes. Baekhyun just swears out loud and blurts that I am unbelievably cool. Once the preparations settle, the main body gathers and arrays itself before the trenches. Then I lead Baekhyun and 09 down to the first building of the underground city, Sun Wipung's alchemy room, to collect obstacle-breaking pills for the troops. Baekhyun trails me the whole way wearing a look of pure admiration, pestering me to teach him that move, demanding to know when a beast tamer switched jobs to some lightning mage king. The man has not stopped firing questions since the deck. I walk on, shaking my head, and tell him he cannot learn it. I have an ability that lets me borrow some of the powers my ants have mastered, and the lightning I threw belongs to one of them, Plasma. He droops, mourning that such a cool move is off limits, and I laugh and tell him to be content, since he gets giddy over every new thing he sees. Is not his own king's treasury when it unleashes that chaotic laser show plenty cool too? He brightens instantly, agreeing, his moods rolling in and out like weather. Within a moment he has forgotten the whole matter and is crowing that with me joining. We are sure to win this time. I tell him to jinx us less and save that for after the fight. Soon I bring the two into the alchemy room. I push the door open onto a chamber full of drifting vapor, mechanical jars everywhere, banks of gauges and reading dials. Apprentices hunched over devices like handheld computers, tapping and logging. 09 and Baekhyun stare, fascinated, and Baekhyun mutters that this cannot be right, that I surely do not call this alchemy, that who in this age still refines the old-fashioned elixirs. Cyber alchemy is alchemy too, I tell him breezily, and stride on towards Sun Wipung's private office. The apprentices are so lost in their recording that not one of them notices people have walked in. Baekhyun gapes a beat, then throws a thumbs up at my back and calls me awesome before hurrying to follow. By then, I have already opened the office door, and out rolls a wave of intense fragrance carried on bursts of manic laughter. It is Sun Wipung, crowing to some invisible old master that he has done it, that he has finally succeeded. I ask, smiling, what he has done as I watch him bounce around. He wheels toward the sound, sees me, and thrusts out a black pill in his hand as if showing off a trophy. Even from a distance I catch a faint sweetness off it. I take it, curious, with no idea what it does, and he announces, glowing, that it is the first diamond rank pill he has ever developed. Diamond rank. My eyes narrow in surprise. Only a few days ago he could barely manage platinum rank pills. So how did he leap to diamond this fast? I ask whether that means he can now mass produce them. He shakes his head with a rueful smile and admits that the technique is no obstacle. But the materials a diamond rank pill demands are terribly precious and in dire shortage, so churning them out at will is still beyond him. I nod. So that is how it stands. I tell him not to worry, that a crucial battle is coming, and once it is over there should be resources enough for him to refine freely. He lights up, delighted, thanking me over and over. For Sun Wipung, more than any contribution points or reward would bring, one thing moves him most. It is the freedom to chase his own formulas, the joy of creating and reaching past everything his predecessors ever made. Curious, I ask what the pill actually does when taken. It is diamond rank after all, and I wonder if it might help in the coming fight. He shakes his head smiling, and tells me this one is not for eating. Not for eating. Baffled, I wonder what a pill is even for if not to swallow. He explains that it is a corrosion pill. I only need to hurl it at a target and shatter it against the body, and it will eat into them and weaken them. It deals corrosive damage while sapping their physical qualities, the degree of erosion scaling to the target's realm and toughness. An offensive pill then. I understand now, and I tuck the corrosion pill carefully into my storage ring. I encourage him that his work is a real help, and urge him to keep at it, promising materials enough to let his talent run free. He laughs and thanks me for the backing. Along with the corrosion pill, I take a dozen other enhancement pills off him, ones that temporarily lift speed, defense, and physique. Only then do I leave with Baekhyun and 09. The grades and durations vary across the batch, but every one gives the body some measure of boost, and stacked together a dozen of them add up to something considerable. Baekhyun walks behind me, turning over the set of pills I handed him. He exclaims that with the obstacle-breaking pill to shrug off the mist, and this set to fortify our bodies, the monster's entire mist advantage simply evaporates. He grins that the enemy has the mist while we have the pills, and asks whether this counts as a pill-popping build. I shake my head and tell him to stop talking nonsense, that these are legitimate pills with no side effects, and that we are nearly there, so he should get ready. He agrees. I hand the fresh pills to a team of sentry ants and tell them to distribute a set to every ant into the tree spirit squad, in case of need. Then I return with Baekhyun and 09 to the wizard tower. 5 hovering ants drift quietly beside the tower, the whole of the strength I have committed to the decapitation team. I did not chase numbers, since raw quantity means nothing when the gap in power runs this wide. But inside those 5 hovering ants, every single ant is a diamond rank existence. There are 500 black scythe hunting ants, 800 sentry ants, 300 plasma ants, 50 clear ants, 300 light healing ants, and a full 200 blasting ants. The count is not large, but it is an absolute elite. My Black Island races on toward the target, where at a glance the instant's mist has already taken on a trace of eerie purple, the mark of a completed ascension. Though it has not yet fully swallowed the chief in Black Robes Island, it has already evolved into the highest band there is, a purple dungeon. I look at it, seemingly near, yet still 3 hours off, and ask in a low voice whether they are ready. Baekhyun shrugs it away, saying he is fine. 09, on the observation deck, nods calmly, her white coat snapping in the wind. Little Tree is already down at the front line of the main body, lending the wood element skills of his race to season the defense. Seeing everyone set, I nod hard and tell them speed is everything now, so we move at once. The instant the words leave me, I take my Black Island in hand and release Super Leap. The 3-hour crossing flashes past in a single heartbeat, and my island materializes before the purple dungeon, wrapped in purple haze and still devouring the chief in Black Robes Island. The two of them lock together tight, and the war truly begins. Without hesitation, I fire off my orders one after another. I order the main body to hold the line, the decapitation team to charge in with me, and the sentry ants to scout ahead and find the instance core. Answering as one, countless units, human vassals and ants alike, straighten at their posts, braced for battle. And the 3 of us, riding on Baekhyun's magic carpet, sweep in behind the 5 hovering ants bearing the decapitation team, streaking toward the purple dungeon. As the islands meet, the purple mist surges toward mine, and the monsters come boiling across at the same moment. Watching from the air, I feel the weight settle in my chest and tell Baekhyun and 09 what I see. The lowliest of these monsters have all reached diamond rank, the mid-tier no less, which means my read will not fall far off. The monsters guarding the instance core will surely be upper diamond or beyond, with a real chance of touching legendary, and the core monster itself, the leader, has certainly reached mid-tier legendary or higher. Baekhyun and 09 both turn solemn, but with the warning already given, neither of them wavers much. Baekhyun says it has come to this, that there is only one fight left. I smile and nod, telling them that with all of them beside me there is nothing to fear, however hard the battle, and that we should fight to our heart's content. The magic carpet and the 5 hovering ants tear toward the purple dungeon and reach its ground fast. On arrival, I do not go charging in blind. Instead, I have the hovering ants circle the perimeter, seeding sentry ants down as they fly, until all 800 diamond-rank sentry ants are salted across the instance. Before they even land, they slip into stealth camouflage, and the moment they touch down, they scatter like countless stars and vanish without a trace. On the surface, they have disappeared, but in my perception, a web of the sentry ants' biological radar is weaving itself at speed, swiftly wrapping the Black Island ahead. With that network, the whole spread of monsters across the instance lays itself bare before me. Reading the intelligence, I tell Baekhyun and 09 that the chief fought this place long and hard, so he must have gutted it. He also pulled the bulk of its forces toward wherever he landed. I chose the opposite side deliberately, and sure enough the monster density here runs much lower, so before the instance's monsters react and flood over, the main body should not face too much pressure. Though I brought a pure diamond rank force of over 2,000, these are not all my diamond rank ants. The main body still holds many more, especially the black scythe hunting ants built for head-on slaughter, and with the 50 tree spirits under Little Tree added in, that line is nothing to dismiss. We will not rush our departure, I tell them. We wait for the sentry ants to pin down a likely instance core, then drive straight for it. Baekhyun nods, smiling, and throws me a thumbs up, saying it really has to be me, that my preparations are too thorough. He only has to swing as a fighter. He grins, while I do the tiring part. I shake my head with a smile and sink my focus into the spreading network. At Diamond rank, the sentry ants gain the biological network ability, which threads every nearby sentry ant's intelligence together and hugely quickens the gathering. Still, a purple dungeon is the highest instance there is, and that rank shows not only in monster strength but in sheer size. This one devoured countless black islands to grow, and while it cannot match mine, it still sprawls dozens of units wide, so uncovering the instance core in a handful of minutes is unrealistic. But I have patience. I do not fret or thrash about at the instance's ferocity. I hold my place calm, waiting for the sentry ants to bring me a clean fix. The carpet lingers at the border for just over 3 minutes. Then the purple mist creeps in and swallows us. The 3 on the carpet, the 5 hovering ants, every ant inside them, and keeps rolling relentlessly toward my black island. At once I feel a deep weakness settle over me, as though my physical stats have plunged. I do not reach for an obstacle-breaking pill yet. Instead, the golden light of the Eye of Taming flares in my right eye, and I read the mist itself. The reading tells me it is the mist of a purple dungeon. Monsters shrouded in it gain a 40% lift to every attribute, while any other creature it touches loses 40% across the board. And once it blankets the whole black island, the island is devoured by the instance. 40%, both ways. That swing, without a targeted counter, would double the clear difficulty out of thin air. The purple dungeon is already monstrous, and after this the survivors of today simply could not stand against it. Fortunately, I stockpiled obstacle-breaking pills early, and for the decapitation team at least the supply runs deep, more than enough to carry this whole war. I take out one with a silvery sheen and swallow it. It melts the instant it touches my tongue, herb fragrant, and a cool current spreads from head to foot. An indescribable freshness. The weakening eases back a good deal, and I feel a measure of strength return, no longer so drained, though a thread of fatigue still clings. So even a platinum rank obstacle-breaking pill cannot fully immunize against the purple mist. I frown and read my own body again, and land on the numbers. A platinum pill only cancels 30% of the weakening, and the remaining 10% will not lift. To scrub it away entirely would take a diamond rank obstacle-breaking pill. Fortune favors the prepared, but even when the moment comes you can never be perfectly wholly ready. Having the mist's bite and then some already leaves me satisfied. Let us take the pills right before we engage, I tell them, since we do not know how long the fight will run, so we can serve. The decapitation team inside the 5 hovering ants answers as one, and holds its hover, waiting. The air stays calm for the moment, but the ground is already tipped into battle. Even in the thin density direction I chose, some monsters remain, each at least diamond rank, every one a leader class terror if it stood anywhere outside. With the mist's boost stacked on top, they are fiercer still, eyes glowing in eerie purple as they hurl themselves at my main body. Their bodies run like wolves, but antlers crown their heads, half wolf and half deer, a shape wrong in a way I cannot name. A dozen meters short of the wide, deep trench of the border, these wolf deer things kick off the ground with their hind legs and leap. They seem to genuinely fly, soaring at frightening speed toward the main body waiting behind the trench. The trench runs 300 meters wide, a river cut into the land, and still it cannot halt these beasts. Bloodlust already flickers in their purple-green eyes. The battle is upon us. Hundreds of meters below us, the wolf deer leap across the wide trenches as though the gaps were never there at all. Even Baekhyun, riding beside me on his magic carpet, cannot hide his surprise. He asks whether jumping like that is even fair, whether those broad trenches are supposed to stop nothing, and then he offers to make a move and settle the matter himself. The same flicker of surprise runs through me, but I do not take him up on it. His intervention would clear this crisis cheaply enough, that much is true. Yet one crisis now only breeds another crisis later, and I cannot keep letting him act every time, because those interventions pile up into a cost I refuse to pay. By the time we finally reach the instance core, most of our strength would already be spent. I shake my head gently and tell him we have to trust them. We each carry our own mission, the ants have theirs, and none of us can afford to get distracted. Baekhyun takes my meaning and nods, folding his eagerness away, and settles for watching the fight below with a grave face. Down at the trench line, a pack of wolf deer springs with everything it has, hurtling toward the black scythe hunting ants on the far bank like arrows loosed from a bow. Just as they are about to land, several green blurs streak past, so fast they leave only after images. A ripple of lashing cracks follows, and the next instant the wolf deer are flung backward, whipped down into the bottomless trench. A dozen seconds later, a chorus of drawn-out wails drifts up from far below. The turn of events startles Baekhyun, and when he finally fixes his gaze, he sees what cut the pack down. They are green vines, each as thick as a forearm, and the ones working them are the tree spirits squad led by Little Tree. Some of the wolf deer were not thrown into the trench at all, but bound tight, thrashing and howling without budging an inch, and hauled to the very front of the formation. There, the black scythe hunting ants unhurriedly spread their huge scythe mandibles, clamped them around each exposed neck, and snapped them shut. Under 100-fold bite and the raw strength of the black scythe hunting ants, even diamond-rank wolf deer at their mid-stage, swollen with the purple mist, cannot hold. One after another, the wolf-like, deer-like heads roll straight into the deep trench, like criminals dropped on the block. Bloody work, but it is our side doing it, so I have no complaints. Baekhyun cannot help clapping. He tells me these wolf deer are clearly physical-type monsters with excellent bodies, that their leaping and mobility would make the nightmares to meet out in the open wild. And yet, he says, in the single instant they hung in the air, the tree spirits seized the opening, the vines pinned their necks, and the scythe mandibles finished them on the spot. For a first-ever pairing, he admits, their coordination is genuinely impressive. I smile and wave the compliment off, telling him the credit belongs mostly to the tree spirits. The black scythe hunting ants only handle the killing, and if the vines had not dragged the enemy's neck in close, that clean result would have been far harder to reach. This is exactly why support matters so much, I tell him, and why a damage dealer is so easily replaced by comparison. He nods along and sighs that it is a shame Chung-hai is still locked in her own fight and cannot break away. If she were here too, he figures, our odds on this operation would climb another 10 or 20%. I only smile, not especially worried, and tell him that having the two of them along is already good fortune. If neither of them had been free, I would have been willing to try the thing myself. Take on a whole purple dungeon alone. Even to my own ears that sounds insane. Baekhyun finds it hard to swallow, but he knows me well enough to know I am not bluffing. He protests that I cannot hog something this good for myself when the three of us are supposed to be teammates, and 09 standing quietly nearby nods her agreement. I laugh and tell him that of course I know. Of course I would not keep it all, since I was the one who called them in to begin with. Then I turn my eyes back to the battle below, and the minutes crawl past. An hour slips away, and the sentry ants still have not pinned down the instant score. As the time drags on, the monsters that were massed at the far end start pouring rapidly toward our side, and their density keeps thickening. My ants, the tree spirits, and my vassals cooperate smoothly, and the traps we laid early buy us room, but the horde is no longer only wolf deer. Flying monsters, elemental attackers, and strange burrowing things join the press, and under the mounting assault my weary main force finally begins to take losses. Worse, the rate of those losses keeps climbing. From the air, Baekhyun clenches his fists, barely holding himself back. The moment he starts to speak, I cut him off with a raised hand and tell him to wait a little longer. He argues that we have never bled like this before, that the casualties of these last minutes outrun any 10 past battles stacked together. I frown and say nothing. My carefully raised, hard-won forces are being ground down in front of me, and it would be a lie to claim it does not hurt. But no matter how much it hurts, we cannot spend ourselves cheaply now. Until the instance leader is dealt with, this battle will not end, and every scrap of strength has to be saved for that reckoning. Even a sliver wasted early could hand us defeat at the final step. I draw a deep breath and tell them, low and steady, to hold a while longer. With the light healing ants working the lines, the true losses are far smaller than they look, and my ants can absolutely last until we settle the instance leader. As for death, that is simply a warrior's lot. Every ant, down to the easygoing hover ants, stands ready to give its life and follow every order for the survival of the colony and the evolution of the species. That is just what ants are. Everything each single ant offers up flows together into the soul of the whole colony, so death is never the end, and the colony will keep evolving, keep plundering, and keep pressing bravely forward. My voice sinks lower and lower until it is only a faint murmur, and something strange begins to seep out of me. Baekhyun glances over, puzzled, and asks what is wrong with me as my eyes slowly drift shut. 09 lowers her head, thinks for a moment, then looks up and says, not entirely certain, that I seem to have grasped something after watching the ants struggle and die so bravely. Baekhyun's face is a strange thing to behold. 3 parts startled, 3 parts envious, 3 parts baffled, and 1 part flat disbelief. And he blurts out that surely this cannot actually work. The feeling in me comes and goes in a breath, and my eyes snap open again. Clear once more. I smile and tell him I am sorry for the worry. I say I seem to have grasped some deeper working of power just now. A few more battles, enough to digest what I just touched, will put Tier 4 within my reach at last. 09 had already guessed as much, but hearing me admit it outright leaves Baekhyun speechless, and he pulls a sour face. He complains that we were only chatting, so how did I stumble into an enlightenment out of nowhere, and asks whether the rest of them are even allowed to have fun with me anymore. He is genuinely glad for me, I know. It is only that my route to a breakthrough is maddeningly whimsical, and Tier 4 has always loomed like a chasm no one can cross. One even he cannot find a handhold on. That I stand on its edge by sheer accident is, frankly, outrageous. Then his whole face lights up, and he asks whether my sudden breakthrough has not shot my strength up all over again. Whether this boss fight of ours is not now completely in the bag. I shake my head and tell him it is not so dramatic. I am not fully crossed into Tier 4, and I keep feeling I am short by the thinnest margin. It is as though a single sheet of paper stands between me and the other side, and I simply cannot find where to punch through it. With luck, I break through the very next second, and without it, I have no idea how long I stay stuck. Even so, my strength has genuinely risen a notch, mostly in how I grasp and wield power, and how well I mesh with the ant tribe. My odds in the fights ahead really are better. Baekhyun takes my careful words as mere modesty and lets them slide, holding on only to that last line about better odds, and his whole posture loosens. I can tell he did not really listen, but I do not argue the point. I only smile a little helplessly and go back to studying the information web the sentry ants have spun for me through the species contract. The moment I read what the web holds, my brow tightens and the good mood for my enlightenment drains away. If the whole purple dungeon were a circle, the sentry ants have already laid bare 3/4 of it. And yet, across all that ground, the region that should hold the instance core shows not the faintest trace. Every second I lose here bleeds me more troops, so the weight gnaws at me. It makes no sense. By all logic, the instance core should sit somewhere near the center, but the center has been combed through and turned up nothing. I even had the sentry ants sweep the far side, out toward where the earlier chief made his landing, and still found nothing. I can hardly believe my luck runs this rotten. The sentry ants do not crawl this land inch by inch. They probe it from the likeliest spots down to the least likely, ranking the whole place by where the instance core ought to be. Because the chief who landed here before us may well have reached the core himself, they even peeled off a branch to check the opposite shore. All they turned up were old scars of battle, never a door. If I cannot find this core soon, I will be worn to death inside this instance. A thin bead of sweat rises on my forehead, and my mind races. I have searched so many places that there's no reason for my luck to run this bad, almost as if the instance core were deliberately hiding from me. And then it stops me cold. Hiding. I jerk my head up and stare off into the distance, chasing a possibility that is faintly absurd, wondering whether this core's entrance might actually be able to move. Almost as fast, I shake the idea off. Strong as the sentry ants are, they do not rank high among diamond rank creatures. If the core truly had the wit to dodge its enemies, it would never have let the sentry ants roam free this long. It would have thrown troops at them far earlier. So I reach for another answer instead. As the highest grade of instance, the purple dungeon plays by different rules, and perhaps its core is not fixed anywhere at all, but stays sealed until certain conditions are met. That version sits far better with me. The trouble is that there are no hints of any kind, and even if trigger conditions exist, I have no idea how to find them. So I decide to wait, to let the sentry ants finish scouring the entire instance before I settle whether I have guessed right. I hold off from anything rash, but a new plan is already taking shape at the back of my mind. Barely 10 more minutes pass, with the sentry ants all but done sweeping the place, when a familiar voice suddenly rings out. It tells me the conditions to open the instance core have been met. We have held for 2 hours under the monster assault, and cut down more than 1,000 of them, and now the core is opening nearby. Baekhyun and 09 hear it just as clearly as I do. As the voice fades, an eerie purple vortex tears open out of nothing in the sky just ahead of us. The whole thing radiates a wrongness that makes the skin crawl on sight, as though something man-eating waits coiled inside. Strange as it looks, the announcement has already prepared us, so not one of us flinches. If anything, we all look relieved. So it really did come, and it really did hinge on meeting conditions. I let myself wonder briefly whether this is a quirk unique to the purple dungeon, or the way of every instance past a certain grade. Then push the question aside. I stand, stretch, and tell the three who have waited so long that they all heard the message, that once I have checked it over and found no trouble, we move out at once. Baekhyun grins and says it never hurts to double-check, that I am thorough to a fault. At my word, a diamond-rank sentry ant darts into the eerie purple vortex ahead of us. Before my enlightenment, when my bond with the ants ran shallower, the instance core would have severed my sense of that scout the instant it crossed over. Now I feel every move it makes on the far side of the vortex as plainly as if I were standing there myself. With the way confirmed, I turn to an impatient Baekhyun and tell him it checks out, that this is the place, and that it is time to go. Time is against us, and every wasted minute costs my main force more lives. Once I am sure nothing lethal waits inside the vortex, I send the 5 hover ants through first. Then Baekhyun, 09 and I chase after them aboard the magic carpet. A wave of vertigo swallows us whole, and when it lets go, we are already standing inside the instance core. Baekhyun is barely awake before he is shouting to know where this place has dumped us. I pause, taking his startled face, and 09 still shaking off the daze beside me, and a stray thought crosses my mind, that Baekhyun came around even faster than I did. I wonder for a heartbeat whether his spiritual power runs higher than mine, or whether he carries some item that speeds recovery. But the question flickers and dies, and I let my attention swing to our surroundings instead. The instant I take the place in clearly, my pupils shrink, and I finally understand why Baekhyun was hollering. It is an open expanse, shaped like a round plaza, except this one runs dozens of times wider than any ordinary plaza. The three of us and our 5 enormous hover ants take up only a small patch at the rim. Everywhere else, there is nothing but that eerie purple mist and empty ground. Something about it puts me on edge at once. Where are the monsters? Every instance core I have cleared before this was cramped by comparison. Each one threw a dense, brutal wave of monsters at me the moment I stepped in. Nothing like this idle, almost too idle quiet. I remind myself that a purple dungeon breaks from lesser instances in more ways than one. No monsters have shown themselves yet, but the voice named this an instance core, which means there will be monster leaders here of terrible strength. We have to ready ourselves fast, before some sudden flood of them catches us flat-footed. So I throw myself into it. Like a strategy game commander unpacking a mobile base into the field. I first have the hover ants disgorge a batch of ground combat units. Then I dig through my storage ring and start hauling out gear. These are things I stockpiled long ago. Items that only work if they are set up in advance, and they lend real weight in a fight. The catch is that each takes 10 minutes at minimum to deploy, and under normal conditions there is never time to lay them out, so they only earn their keep in dug-in trench warfare. I packed them away purely for a rainy day. I never dreamed that at what I expected to be the fiercest, most punishing instance core of all, I would actually have room to set them up ahead of time. Watching me work with such gusto, Baekhyun cannot help asking what I am up to. I tell him that while there are no monsters yet, I am setting up some gear to take the edge off later. He says, "Oh, right," and decides to lay some of his own out too. A little slow on the draw, he smacks the back of his head, then thrusts his right hand forward. In a flash of golden light, a heap of odds and ends spills across the ground, at least 10 times the pile I just set down. My hands stall for a second. Baekhyun really is a rich lord, and one lazy flick of his wrist already buries anything I could ever put together. He asks why I am just standing there and tells me to get moving. I mutter that with a haul this size, the pair of us are in for a long slog, warning him to work faster before the monsters turn up halfway through our setup. Then I step in to help. These items come with fiddly, tangled deployment methods that only Baekhyun and I can manage by hand, since the ants are no use for it. But he has dumped out so much that even with both of us sweating over it, a mountain of the stuff still sits untouched. I tell him to just finish however many we can, that I have a feeling this quiet will not hold much longer, and we need to be set and steady when the monsters arrive. Baekhyun groans that this manual labor is truly no work for human beings, and grumbles about whether we could not simply toss the things on the ground and let them build themselves. As the two of us toil and sweat, 09 standing off to the side, lowers her head slightly and lifts her right hand, and a ring on her finger glows. More than a dozen mechanical creatures in every shape unfold before us, and rush straight at the very combat facilities that have been giving 2-diamond rank powerhouses such grief. In 3 short minutes they finish what Baekhyun and I could not have managed in another half hour, and cannons, spell arrays, and traps of every kind blanket the ground around us. Baekhyun plants a hand on his hip and gripes that if 09 had toys this good, she should have brought them out ages ago. Making him set the things up by hand, he says, wore him down worse than 3 days and nights of fighting. She only tilts her head a fraction to one side and pays him no mind, and he shrugs, helpless as ever, against her. I tell them it is good the facilities are up, and ask 09 to bring out her mecha, the Galaxy, as well. She nods lightly, and specks of silver starlight begin to flicker across her heart. Baekhyun leans in, curious, asking what that is, and I have to admit I am curious too. I have seen 09's Galaxy before, but never once watched her call it out of thin air. Ever since she broke through to her 3rd stage, she has been able to fold a mecha dozens, even hundreds of meters tall into her mechanical heart. It ought to be impossible, and yet it simply is not. The starlight on her chest swells brighter and brighter until it wraps her completely, soft rather than blinding, but still enough to hide her from Baekhyun and me. It lasts only a blink. The next second, a sleek mecha dozens of meters tall, forged entirely of silver-white alloy, stands before us out of nowhere. I take it in stride, but Baekhyun's eyes go round, and he breathes that it is unbelievably cool. Baekhyun is brimming with envy, eyes sparkling as he grabs at me to ask whether I saw that. He says 09's transformation just now reminded him of the old giant heroes from the Blue Star shows, the ones who swell up huge to trade blows with monsters. Except hers looks 100 times cooler than those cheap flickering effects. Then he moans that everyone around him keeps getting cooler and asks whether they are even allowed to have fun together anymore. I give him a flat look and chuckle, telling him to knock it off. I say he falls for every shiny new thing he lays eyes on, and appearances never last, so he ought to spend less energy on flash and more on what is underneath. He answers that he understands, but the look on his face says none of it stuck, so I just smile and let the matter drop. Right then a mechanical voice sounds from atop 09's galaxy, telling me she is ready. I nod slightly and tell her not to move rashly yet, that we watch first. The moment we landed, before I even gave the word, the sentry ant went to work scouting the ground around us out of pure instinct. The layout is simple enough. Beyond this giant plaza, the outer bounds dissolve into a jagged, broken texture, and a light probe tells the sentry ant that chaotic, violent energy churns within it, sealing off any passage. In other words, we are penned inside the plaza with nowhere to roam. It reminds me of nothing so much as a cage match, only a cage built on an absurd scale. I have no idea yet what shape the fighters waiting on the far side will take. The thought has scarcely formed when a huge rumble rolls up from the plaza's center. My gaze sharpens toward it. There a circular slab of ground grinds slowly open like a door. The familiar voice returns to say that the instance core creature will appear in 30 seconds, and that defeating the core's leader will let us leave this place. It is really here. At my command, every ant snaps into motion. Before this, with the monster's entry point unknown, my troops had only made ready without taking fixed positions. But now that we know it rises from the center, they surge into place. 30 seconds is nothing, yet my troops are drilled well enough that in a little over 10 of them they lock into a pocket-shaped formation. They dovetail with the facilities we planted earlier like a set of horns, standing as unshakable as a mountain while they wait. Baekhyun settles onto the magic carpet beside me, easy and unhurried, ready to move as the moment demands. I study the deep pit at the plaza's heart and turn it over in my mind. The monster only stirs once we are set, I think, and I cannot tell whether that is chance or whether the instance runs so hard that it grants a breath of prep time on purpose. Whatever the reason behind this format, my team has now made every preparation it can, and the coming fight can be waged in our full strength. 30 seconds flash past. A vast roar goes up, half a wolf's howl and half a lion's bellow, and one powerful monster after another claws its way out of the great pit at the center. To our surprise, they do not charge us like maddened beasts. Instead, they arrange themselves in rings, bloodthirsty eyes fixed on my team, waiting on something we cannot see. Now we finally get a clear look at them. Everyone wears the torso of a wolf, the fur a dazzling spread of black, gray, silver, and yellow. But the heads set on those bodies are wildly mismatched. Some rabbit, some lion, some tiger, every animal head Blue Star ever knew. And plenty it never did. No two are alike, and their numbers run past 1,000. As for their realm, Baekhyun reads it off and warns me these wolves, the whole discount pack of them as he dubs them, all seem to sit at upper diamond rank. That makes them a touch troublesome. He calls them troublesome, but there is little real nerve in his voice. The jump from mid to upper diamond rank is no small thing, yet as long as none of them reach legendary rank he can still handle them. The monsters outside may be only mid-diamond rank, but they number in the thousands and tens of thousands. These stand a rung higher and come far fewer, so their total weight may not even match the horde beyond the walls. I let the nickname pass, and keep my face grave, telling him not to grow careless, that these wolf monsters have a problem. He tucks away his contempt, and looks at me confused, and I nod. I say they may be few, and their realm may sit inside what we can bear, but they are holding their ground rather than rushing us on instinct. That means something intelligent is directing them from behind. With an intelligent creature giving commands, the difficulty of handling monsters climbs at least severalfold. Baekhyun's eyes narrow as the weight of it lands, and he ventures that the only intelligence that could exist in a place like this must be the leader of this very instance core. The words are barely out of him when another sky-splitting roar answers, and a heavy, almost solid aura wells up from the central pit and rolls straight over us. Whether it is me, Baekhyun, or 09 inside the galaxy, our breath catches as one, hearts lurching, as though we have blundered into the den of a natural predator. It is the raw, unarguable dread that lives coiled in human genes, the kind no force of will can override. I frown hard, fists tightening, eyes pinned to the pit. This, I think, is beyond doubt the aura of a legendary rank existence, except its strength runs far heavier than a legendary rank should. If crossing a great realm means a tenfold gulf over the peak of the one below, then what just washed over us carried 15, no, at least 20 times that weight. And threaded through it, faint and impossible, is a strange sense of familiarity. Then the thing in the pit at last drifts slowly up into the open. It is a wolf grown to monstrous size, but the head crowning it belongs to no creature Blue Star has ever held, only to the beasts of myth and legend. A dragon. The head riding atop this instance leader wolf is unmistakably a dragon's, a thing found only in the old myths. A dragon-head giant wolf then, and no wonder its aura crushes down so hard. I keep my eyes locked on it. By size alone, the thing runs tens of meters long and 5 or 6 meters at the shoulder, and even stripped of the dragon head, that bulk would be enough to inspire awe. Baekhyun suddenly shouts and points, and I follow his hand to a gaping wound the size of a wash basin torn into the beast's lower back. Black smoke still pours from it with a steady corrosive hiss, and it is plainly that dark mist keeping the wound from closing, so the gash only bleeds on, staining the silver-white fur around it in patches of red. How did the dragon-head giant wolf take an injury like that the instant it arrived? Dragon-head or not, it is a canine underneath. And the old saying gives such beasts a copper head, iron bones, and a waist soft as tofu. The lower back is a wolf's weak point, and a wound there cuts deep. I turn it over and land quickly on a likely answer, that this is the mark left by the chief who cleared this instance before me. He truly did reach the instance core, exactly as I guessed earlier, and he carved a wound into the instance leader that will not fade. The leader should not even have upgraded back when he cleared the place, yet he still dealt a gash it cannot heal to this day, which says everything about his strength. Had I run into him myself, the cost in lives would have been steep. As it stands, he has instead crippled a different enemy for me, and that works to my favor. I tell my people to ready themselves and let a little of the tension bleed out of me. I keep close watch on the dragon-head giant wolf, waiting to answer whatever it does. After it springs clear of the pit, it does not lunge. It sweeps a cold gaze across my red ant army and my team, and then its eyes harden. In that instant, a pressure 10 times heavier than before, wholly solid now, comes crashing down on us. It settles over me and my companions like a mountain dropped from the sky, and straightening our backs turns into a labor. Strength, stamina, spirit, all of it drains away at once. Baekhyun yelps beside me, wanting to know what is happening, complaining that he is wilting before the fight has even begun. My brow knots and I force a wry smile as I make myself stand tall, muttering that this pressure may well be a skill of the dragon-head giant wolf. Golden light kindles in my right eye as I run a quick check on my own body through the eye of delusion breaking, and 2 fresh curses surface on me. The first, Dragon's Might, presses down on any creature of lesser bloodline, shears half of every attribute away, and drives fear into whatever it grips. The second, Legendary Might, weighs on anything below legendary rank and strips a further fifth from every attribute, and it takes precedence over Dragon's Might. I pass the reading straight to Baekhyun and 09. Baekhyun's reaction is theatrical as always, one hand slapped over his face, head tipped back, the picture of agony. No wonder he feels so gutted, he moans. 2 layers of suppression stacked on him. A fifth is gone to Legendary Might and then half to Dragon's Might. A clean 60% shaved off every attribute. He adds that this does not even count the 40% the Purple Mist already takes. With the whole set piled together, his body is all but hollowed out, and he asks whether we can even play this game anymore. My own face has gone grave, the ease I felt at the sight of the beast's wound now wholly gone. Is this the wall you hit challenging a high-level monster, I think? Even without the curses, the dragon-head giant wolf is a brutal opponent, and under a triple weakening there's next to no hope of taking it down. And yet, I pull in a slow breath, turn to Baekhyun and smile, telling him to drop the act and take it out. Baekhyun feigns bafflement and asks what on earth I mean. I only hold his gaze in silence, and he shrugs, helpless, already fishing something out. He grumbles that this is not right, that he thought his acting was rather good, and asks how I saw through him. What he draws out is a gilded scroll, a one-time item called False Strongman at Platinum rank. Upon release, it wraps every allied unit in a False Strongman status for 3 hours, leaving them immune to all aura-based weakening. I tell him it is good stuff, that I knew the brat had something tucked up his sleeve. I have spent long enough at Baekhyun's side to read him well, and playful as he is, he never once jokes about a fight or his life. Under the dragon-head giant wolf's triple oppression, he stayed altogether too loose, without a flicker of strain, and that was the tell that gave him away. Sure enough, he had a plan all along. The scroll is genuinely fine work, platinum rank and single use, its effect deceptively plain, granting nothing but a status that in most circumstances would be near worthless. Only Baekhyun would think to carry a thing this strange. Across from us, the dragon-head giant wolf has no idea the 2 suppressive auras it just loosed have already been answered and cancelled. Seeing my team look breathless under the weight, it snorts in triumph. It flicks a glance at its own steadily corroding back, then fixes venomous eyes on Baekhyun and me, because it was humans like us who dealt it that wound before. It has upgraded since, and climbed a rank, close enough to touch the legendary upper tier. But the wound clings like a maggot to the bone, and clearing it demands that it gather its power to heal over a day or two. It has had only an hour or two, and now a fresh clutch of human runts arrives to trouble it, so it nurses a raw grudge against our whole race. Wasting no more patience, it snorts, throws back its head, and looses a long howl that is half wolf and half dragon. The next instant, 1,000 upper diamond rank wolf monsters, eyes gone bloodthirsty, come tearing straight at us. In the dragon-head giant wolf's reckoning, with 2 layers of suppression laid on us, its underlings alone should tear my team to ribbons, no need to dirty its own claws. Ever since its brush with the black-robed chief, it has held a wary respect for these upright ape-like creatures. It is confident it can settle us easily, yet a part of it fears that we might, like the black-robed chief before us, gather every last scrap of power into one dying blow. That would be a waste it would rather avoid. Vast as the plaza is, only 1,000 meters separate the 2 sides, and at the foot speed of upper diamond rank wolf monsters, that gap closes in under a minute. My ant army still labors under 3 stacked weakenings, and against this howling charge they should look like lambs led to slaughter. Standing proud in the distance, the dragon-head giant wolf watches as though it can already see its ant-small enemies ripped open and torn apart, a glint of bloodlust rising in its eyes. What it fails to notice is that my people, who ought to be shaking, carry no trace of panic. We are calm, even wearing the faint edge of a winner's smile. The front rank of wolves closes to within a breath, seconds from landing on my ant army, their eyes blood red and jaws slick with drool as if they have already tasted flesh. At my roared signal, in the same instant, Baekhyun rips the gilded scroll clean in 2. The false strongman effect floods out, and the 2 great mountains crushing my team of 3, and every ant with us are flipped away in a stroke. The suppressed attributes snap back all at once, and only the 40% the purple myth steel still clings to us, since that weakening is no aura-based curse and lies beyond the scroll's reach. But that is not the whole of it. In the same beat, every ant swallows the obstacle-breaking pill it has been holding ready in its mouth, and the pill scours away a full 30% more of the weakening. In an eye blink, attributes that have been ground down to a bare 24% under the stacked curses spring back up to 90%, near enough to whole. By now the wolves are upon us, claws thrown wide and fangs bared with no way left to pull back. But the things they meant to slaughter are lambs no longer, and they bare their own fangs to meet them. At the same moment, the facilities we said earlier come alive, weakening beams and armor-piercing grenades and gravity traps raining down one after another on the charging pack. Such small tricks would mean little to a legendary ranked dragon-head giant wolf. But against wolves who never reached legendary, they are perfectly suited. The pack is already reeling, their prey turned nearly 4-fold stronger between one breath and the next, and steeling yourself to face a rabbit is a very different thing from bracing for a tiger. On top of that, every kind of curse suddenly lands on them at once. It all happens too fast. Offense and defense trade places in an instant. The pouncing wolves slam headlong into the black scythe hunting ants at the front of my army, and the ones behind cannot check themselves and pile into the ones ahead. And still that is not all. The plasma ants tucked in behind the black scythe hunting ants float suddenly into the air and without a heartbeat of hesitation, cut loose their lightning overload. Lightning overload is an explosive skill that burns out in a mere few tens of seconds, and by rights it should be saved for a decisive moment. But against upper diamond rank wolves I dare not hold back, so I order it unleashed at once. 300 plasma ants hang in the air wrapped head to foot in blue-purple lightning, like so many spherical bolts. And the next moment, arm-thick streaks of that lightning hammer down into the heaped wolves. The pack is electrocuted into chaos, reeking of scorched fur, and beneath it, roast meat. The lightning conducts fiercely, the blue-purple plasma coursing from body to body through all 1,000 wolves, and with the stacking effect, the damage swells enormously. The whole clash is a tangle to describe, yet it takes less than a minute. The tide turns hard. The ravenous diamond rank wolves, who a second ago were poised to kill to their heart's content, become the lambs in the next. They lie strewn across the ground, and thanks to the stubborn vitality of upper diamond rank, they have not quite died, but there is plainly no fight left in them. Baekhyun is thunderstruck beside me, staring at the 1,000 charred wolves. He blurts that if I did that once more, even the discount pack's leader could not weather it. We caught the wolves flat-footed with a stack of backup plans and an ambush, true, but these are upper diamond rank horrors, any one of which could raise an island out in the open world. Monsters that 99% of survivors at this stage could never hope to match. A full 1,000 of them, and my 300 unremarkable ants put the lot beyond fighting in a dozen seconds. Even I will grant it is a frightening thing to watch. I am not surprised by the result though, and I smile and shake my head, telling him it is not so simple as it looks. The plasma ants pulled this off partly on the back of all those item assists, I say, but the greater reason is that they spent an explosive skill to do it. They will need half a day at least to recover, and they can take no further part in the battles ahead. Baekhyun nods, catching my meaning, and grins that it hardly matters, that with these troublesome small fry handled, we can now gang up on the discount pack's leader with a clear conscience. He is right. If we had left the 1,000 upper diamond rank wolves at our backs, the fight to bring down the dragon-head giant wolf would have collapsed into chaos. I nod and turn my eyes to the beast, and with my sharp sight I read its own clearly. They are human eyes in their way, brimming with wisdom, and they hold only a flicker of surprise, without the faintest threat of panic. Something is wrong. Quickly, I order the ants to finish off these wolves first. At my word, the black scythe hunting ants at the head of the army spread their sides and set to work as executioners, reaping the slaughtered wolf lambs sprawled across the field. But no sooner do they begin than another howl, wolf and dragon braided together, rolls in from the distance. The roar is majestic, and it drives fear into everyone who hears it. Even with the false strongman shielding our attributes from suppression, my companions and I feel the terrible power folded inside it. Baekhyun claps a hand to his chest in mock fright, and asks why that discount wolf is howling so wildly, saying it gave him a scare. I only frown deeper and tell him something is badly wrong and to stay sharp. I say the dragon head giant wolf would never howl for nothing, so it must have loosed some ability. Yet for all my watching, I catch no change at all. At the front of the formation, the black scythe hunting ants keep faithfully at my order, cold executioners mechanically reaping wolf after wolf. But fast as they move, these are thousands of monsters, and clearing them was never going to be the work of a single night. And right then the unexpected strikes. The wolves in the rear, the ones not yet reaped, stunned flat by the lightning, suddenly blaze all over with an eerie bloody light.